What if Darth Vader was never the Emperor's broken attack dog at all? What if, from that first meeting in The Phantom Menace, Anakin Skywalker was already learning how to play the man who thought he owned him? Our story begins on the second Death Star. Vader stands beside Palpatine, a black silhouette against the cold stars, as the galaxy believes this is the Emperor's perfect enforcer, master and apprentice, monster and master, waiting for Luke Skywalker to arrive. But in this timeline, that image is the biggest lie in Star Wars, because under the mask, Anakin is not defeated. He is watching, he is waiting, he is finishing a plan decades in the making. That is our story for today. Hope you guys enjoy, and please do subscribe. We're building a huge library of Anakin what-ifs, and we're getting closer to our next big milestone. The more support the channel gets, the more of these long, crazy timelines we can make together, so hit that button, and let's get right into it. In canon, Vader is Palpatine's broken pawn, a weapon forged in lava, and hate on Mustafar. In this timeline, the mask is not a prison, it's a tool. The heavy armor, the rasping breath, the red blade always at the Emperor's side are all part of the same deep cover operation Anakin chose. He lets the galaxy fear Vader so that Sidious never sees Skywalker coming. To understand how far this goes, we flash back. Mustafar, the burning river, the crumbling platform, Obi-Wan on the high ground with his blue lightsaber raised. In the films, Anakin's jump is a reckless mistake born from rage. Here, the march on the temple, the younglings, even that final, desperate leap are not just explosions of emotion. They might be calculated sacrifices, moves in a game where Anakin decides that the only way to get close enough to destroy his master is to become exactly what Palpatine wants to see. He knows the Jedi Council is blind. He feels the corruption in the Republic. He hears the promise of power from the Chancellor, and instead of simply falling, he leans into it with cold clarity. For Anakin, every choice becomes double-edged, saving Padme while letting Sidious believe he has total control, ending the war while secretly planning to end the Sith. If that's true, the stakes explode. Order 66 stops being just a tragedy and becomes a battlefield Anakin thinks he can reclaim later. The rise of the Empire turns into his hidden staging ground. Luke's training, the duel on Cloud City, even the final throne room scene, all shift. Was Vader tempting Luke to the dark side, or testing whether his son could survive the truth and help him finish Palpatine for good, even after everything? Across this video, we'll walk from The Phantom Menace to Return of the Jedi, reinterpreting every major moment as part of a secret plan to fulfill the Chosen One prophecy in the darkest, most morally gray way possible. Anakin as double agent, Vader as the mask of the galaxy's last hope, and it all starts long before the suit, the jump, or the lava, long before the suit, long before the mask, long before that burning platform over a river of lava. Anakin Skywalker might already be playing a much longer game than anyone around him realizes. Our story begins here on this channel, where we take those familiar moments and turn them inside out. If you've been with us for the multi-hour Anakin timelines, for every alternate Order 66, every different Mustafar jump, welcome back. You already know we love putting Anakin, Obi-Wan, and the entire galaxy through these huge, cinematic what-ifs. If you're new, and you want a way to experience the saga like a giant alternate history movie, hope you guys enjoy, because this one changes everything. Here's how we do it. We keep the canon timeline as intact as possible, the same planets, the same wars, the same key scenes. The opera balcony, Mace vs. Palpatine, the temple, the duel on Mustafar. But in this scenario, we reinterpret one thing: Anakin's motives. He is not a confused pawn stumbling into Vader. He is a conscious player. We only change what logically has to shift once he decides to play along with Palpatine instead of being consumed by him. So when the Council holds him at arm's length, when the Republic rots from the inside, when Palpatine leans in with that soft voice about power and saving Padme, Anakin is listening, but he's also watching. Every promise, every secret becomes a piece on his own board. For Anakin in this timeline, the dark side is not a fall, it's a disguise. Before we dive into the narrative, a quick thank you. We just crossed a huge subscriber milestone together, and that means it's time for something special. At the end of this video, I'll ask one specific story question about Anakin's plan. Answer it in the comments, and you'll be entered for a chance to win a replica Vader helmet or lightsaber themed to this exact playing Palpatine timeline. If you want more of these long, branching timelines, more multi-hour deep dives, where we explore every angle of the Chosen One prophecy, make sure to hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and like the video. That's what tells me to keep going with these massive Anakin and Vader arcs, even after everything we've already put him through. Pacing-wise, expect fast, cinematic sequences broken up by short, reflective pauses. We'll move quickly through battles, blades clashing, Star Destroyers burning, Anakin and Obi-Wan making different choices as the Force ripples outward. Then we'll stop, pull back, and analyze what changed in his strategy, and how does this timeline bend away from the films, you know? Let's get right into it as we go back to the beginning and watch a very different Anakin Skywalker meet a very familiar Chancellor, and quietly decide to become the monster the galaxy needs. Our story begins on Coruscant as the silver Nubian cruiser cuts through the traffic lanes and dives toward the endless city. Towers stab up into a hazy sky. Speeders streak past like shooting stars trapped in daylight, and in one small viewport, a 9-year-old boy presses his hand to the transparent steel. Anakin Skywalker is staring at forever, lights in every direction, platforms stacked on platforms, a whole galaxy piled into one world. For Anakin, it should feel like a dream come true. But instead, there's this tightness in his chest as he watches people on lower levels vanish into the shadows between the spires. Qui-Gon stands behind him, calm but distant, that quiet storm of a Jedi who never quite fits the mold. Obi-Wan lingers at the doorway, arms folded, the skeptical older brother already trying to figure out how this kid could possibly be the chosen one. Between them, Anakin feels small, like cargo being delivered, not a person being welcomed. The temple rises ahead, ivory and gold against the metal forest. Inside, the halls are cool and echoing. The boy's boots click on polished stone as robed figures glide past without really seeing him. The Jedi Council sits above it all, literally and emotionally, a circle of distant judges looking down at the slave boy from Tatooine. They talk about him like a storm, like a threat, like a weapon. They measure his midichlorians, his fear, his anger, his potential power, while he stands in the center of the chamber and feels every word hit like a slap. As they debate his fate, he notices how their voices soften when they say, "the boy," and harden when they say, "danger." Anakin doesn't have the words for politics, but he has instincts. On Tatooine, that's how you stayed alive. He can feel the emotional undercurrents in the room as clearly as the Force itself. Caution, distrust, curiosity. No one is really asking what Anakin wants. They are asking what he can do for them. Then, later, in the polished corridors of the Senate, he meets someone different. Senator Palpatine bends down to his level. He smiles. He says, "Anakin, like it matters." He praises his pod racing, his courage, his heart. Where the council weighed him like a weapon, this friendly politician makes him sound like a hero. But instead of soaking in the flattery, Anakin's eyes narrow, just a little. On Tatooine, people only talked that sweet when they wanted something. Both sides, Jedi and politicians, are playing games. Standing between them, the boy quietly makes a promise. One day he'll learn those rules, twist those games, and use them to protect the people he loves, even after everything. Night falls on Coruscant. Wind whips around a Senate balcony as traffic hums far below. Palpatine and Anakin stand alone, city lights reflecting in the boy's eyes. This is where, in the films, he just smiles and nods. In this timeline, he looks up and asks, very softly, why the Great Republic allows slavery to exist at all. For a heartbeat, Palpatine's smile freezes. Something cold and hungry flickers in his eyes. It's gone in an instant, his voice warm again, but Anakin has seen it. He never forgets that tiny crack in the mask, and our story begins to bend in a new direction, as he decides that one day, he'll be the one holding the blade behind the smile. Hope you guys enjoy, because from here, every quiet choice he makes with this Chancellor will echo all the way to Vader's mask. Anakin walks out of Palpatine's office that day with a smile on his face and a decision in his heart. He is still a Padawan, he is still a boy, but from this point on, he is watching the game. Our story begins in the echoing halls of the Jedi Temple. Training sabers clash in bright blue arcs as Anakin Skywalker spars with other younglings. Short breath, fast footwork. He wins most bouts, and when he doesn't, he studies every mistake like it's a lock he needs to pick. As his blade hums against his opponents, he's already thinking about something else. Who is really calling the shots in this war? The days blur into a montage. Morning drills with Obi-Wan, sweat on stone floors, the soft vibration of the Force in the training rooms, long meditation sessions where the chamber is quiet, but his mind isn't. While the others try to empty themselves, Anakin reaches out. He feels the galaxy as threads of fear and hope. Senators arguing, fleets moving, a distant scream that no one in this calm temple seems to hear. Sometimes he wanders, just far enough that the masters think he's still where he should be. Corridors twist, doors slide open, and he finds himself near council chambers he's not supposed to approach. Voices leak through. Mace, Yoda, Ki-Adi talking about Palpatine, emergency powers, battles on worlds Anakin has bled on. They speak in careful phrases, half-truths, and coded concerns, as if the walls themselves might betray them. For Anakin, it's like being back on Tatooine, just with cleaner floors. As a slave, he learned to read every glance, every pause, every little flicker of power. Owners smiled while tightening collars. Traitors joked while changing lives with a nod. Now he hears Jedi preach compassion while sitting above the suffering, high in their marble tower, and that old anger stirs. He compares it, the Council's distant, cautious questions versus Palpatine's warm, direct praise. Obi-Wan's gentle deflections versus the Chancellor's late-night talks where nothing feels off-limits. Different styles, same feeling. They are all holding something back from him. That's when it clicks. Credits buy food, blasters win battles, but knowledge and deception, those buy futures. During an early reunion on Coruscant, Anakin sits with Padme on a balcony, city lights like stars turned upside down. He doesn't just vent this time. He tells her straight. They keep him in the dark. They move pieces around him. They expect him to fight a war he doesn't understand. Then he wonders aloud, voice low, if maybe the only way to change a rigged system is to learn how to rig it better. Later, the temple archives, tall shelves, cold light. Jocasta Nu thinks he's buried in Jedi history, and he is, but that's only half true. On a side console, Senate holofeeds flicker, war reports scroll. Anakin's eyes move faster than his lips as he whispers names, dates, votes. He isn't just learning facts, he is training his mind to see patterns. One day, those same patterns will let him read Palpatine's every move and decide which ones he's going to let happen. Hope you guys enjoy, because even after everything, this quiet studying is the first real step toward Anakin Skywalker trying to outplay the Sith Lord who thinks he owns him. Now, the galaxy is at war. Our story begins on Coruscant as the gunships rise, and the Clone Wars truly ignite. Anakin Skywalker walks the temple halls as a brash Padawan, cloak swirling, mouth running faster than his patience. On the surface, nothing has changed. He complains about the council, he pushes Obi-Wan, he wants to be on the front lines. But inside, something colder has taken root. He listens, he tracks, he watches who profits from every new crisis. In each council briefing, Anakin's eyes move from the holograms to the masters themselves. A new separatist offensive, a missing convoy, a surprise blockade. He silently asks, who gains power from this? In each Senate session, he attends with Palpatine. He sits just behind the Chancellor, gaze lowered like a loyal knight while his mind runs numbers, emergency powers, new fleets, expanded surveillance. Every vote that centralizes control, he files under one name, Palpatine. The bond between them still grows, but not as simple hero worship. In this timeline, Anakin leans into the role of eager student because it's the safest mask he has. The Chancellor invites him to private talks, to quiet dinners above the city lights. Palpatine praises his instincts, his strength, his potential. Anakin nods, grateful on the outside, but he tests every piece of advice against what he sees on the battlefield. When Palpatine urges a more aggressive strike, Anakin notes how often that bold move leaves the Senate begging for more security, more control, more Palpatine. For Anakin, even love becomes part of the long game. His marriage to Padme on Naboo is still tender, still deeply human, but it is not blind. He knows attachment is forbidden. He knows this could destroy his place in the Order, and he does it anyway, fully aware. Padme is not just his heart, she is his anchor outside Jedi and Republic alike, a senator with her own power base, a person he can trust if he ever needs to jump away from both systems at once. On Geonosis, the pattern sharpens. The rock platform of the arena, the chaos of droids and beasts, all of it becomes cover. When the battle erupts, Anakin disobeys in ways that look like pure Skywalker recklessness. He dives for captive Jedi earlier than ordered. He redirects gunships without clearance. He stays behind to pull pinned clones out of collapsing corridors. Commanders write it up as impulsive. Obi-Wan scolds him. But those mistakes keep key troopers alive and expose secondary separatist command posts the Council didn't even know were there. As the war spreads, that continues. He bends orders to hit supply lines instead of flashy targets, to capture mid-level leaders who know where funding really comes from. Controlled chaos. A reputation for being wild that hides a growing pattern no one is quite putting together yet. And then, one night, we cut to Palpatine's office. Coruscant's city lights burn like distant lava rivers outside the glass. Anakin stands there, cloak off, gloves still dusty from the front. Palpatine circles him slowly, voice silky, praising his bravery, his results, how the people love him. Anakin smiles, bows his head, and thanks him, but the camera stays on his eyes. They don't shine with adoration, they track every word, every pause, like a duelist measuring distance before drawing a blade. In that silent moment, Anakin Skywalker isn't just being shaped by the Sith, he is studying his future enemy up close, preparing the first moves of a game he hasn't told anyone he's playing. Hope you guys enjoy, because even after everything, this war is not just about clones and droids anymore, it's about which master Anakin will choose to betray first. So now we jump from quiet offices and war rooms into one of the strangest places in the whole galaxy for a Sith confession, the Opera House on Coruscant. What if this time Anakin walks in already treating it like an interrogation room, not a friendly night out with the Chancellor? The chamber opens around him like a cavern of light. Our story begins with that floating water ballet, columns of liquid hanging in midair as dancers twist through them like they're moving inside the Force itself. Eerie music hums through the air. Senators murmur in the shadows, their voices low, their faces half lit and half hidden, as Anakin Skywalker steps onto the platform toward Palpatine, every sense sharpened. He doesn't sit as a grateful protege. He sits like a Jedi stepping into a duel. Short glances, slow breaths, measuring distance before a blade is ever drawn. As the water shapes rise and collapse in the distance, he studies the man beside him, the man who's been circling him since he was a boy. For Anakin, this is the moment he's been waiting for. Palpatine begins the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. His voice is soft, almost bored, but Anakin's inner monologue is nothing like canon. Each word lands like a blow. A Sith who could cheat death, a master killed in his sleep, a power the Jedi would never teach. Anakin doesn't hear a spooky legend. He hears a timeline. He hears a method. He hears a man describing his own master and smiling like he's remembering the kill. As the music swells, Anakin starts mentally cataloging every piece. Sith believe in using fear, so they rule from the shadows. Sith betray their own apprentices, so loyalty is always a lie. Sith obsess over power over life and death, so that's where they're most reckless. He files away the pride in Palpatine's eyes when he says he taught his apprentice everything he knew. He notes the tiny pause before, then his apprentice killed him in his sleep. That pause is a confession. This time, Anakin doesn't just blurt out fear for Padme. He leans in and asks leading questions. His voice is low, curious. Is it possible to learn this power without trusting the one who teaches it? Wouldn't an apprentice always be a danger if betrayal is the Sith way? If Plagueis was so wise, how did he not see it coming? Each question is a feint, and he watches Palpatine's micro-expressions, the way he watches an enemy's footwork before a jump. Palpatine's polished mask flickers, a tightening at the jaw when Anakin says, "apprentice." A flash of irritation when Anakin suggests a master might be blind. Satisfaction when Anakin pretends to sound desperate. The two of them have their words locked together as the platform of their relationship floats through this quiet storm, and Anakin realizes something terrifying and clarifying at the same time. He leaves the opera not as a man seduced by forbidden knowledge, but as a hunter who's finally scented blood. The kind guiding Chancellor is almost certainly a Sith Lord who thinks he's already won, who thinks Skywalker is already halfway to Vader. Out in a silent corridor, far from the music, Anakin stops. The lights are cold, the city roars below. He could go to the council now. He could drag Palpatine into the light and end it. But another thought hits him like a falling platform. What if he doesn't expose him yet? What if he steps closer instead, plays the perfect student, learns every secret, then takes control of the entire game from the inside? That decision, that tiny turn in a quiet hallway, is where this version of Anakin's long, dangerous plan truly begins. Let's get right into it in the next section, because even after everything, the war for Anakin's soul is about to become a war for the fate of the Sith themselves, and that is our story for today, or at least the start of it. Hope you guys enjoy what comes next. That quiet hallway fades, and our story begins again a few hours later, deep inside the Jedi Temple. Coruscant's night traffic roars outside. Inside, it's almost silent. Anakin Skywalker paces a dim meditation chamber, cloak half open, hands flexing like he wants to grab a lightsaber and can't decide which throat to point the blade at. The council chamber glows high above him. The Senate building glows across the city. Two towers of power, both rotting, and he is trapped between them. He could go to Mace right now. He could say the words, "Palpatine is the Sith Lord." It would be clean, it would be simple, but as he walks, as his boots echo on polished stone, he hears their voices in his head, suspicion, lectures, the way they kept him off the council even after everything he's done in this war. For Anakin, this isn't just about one monster in a black cloak, this is about the galaxy that made that monster possible. He remembers Tatooine's twin suns, burning his eyes as a boy. He remembers the weight of a slave transmitter in his neck, his mother's tired smile, Watto laughing, while senators on Coruscant debated trade routes. The Republic knew slavery existed, the Jedi knew, no one came. He sees Shmi again, dying in his arms on the sand. He had begged the council to let him go to her. They quoted the code. They talked about attachment, not suffering. In their calm refusal, he hears the same coldness he now sees in the Senate's endless votes. So, he stops pacing. He closes his eyes. He imagines telling the council everything. In his mind's eye, Mace ignites his purple blade, storms Palpatine's office, and it goes wrong. He sees Palpatine leaping like a demon, the Chancellor's office filled with dead Jedi, the war exploding even harder as the Sith Lord vanishes into the shadows, with emergency powers locked in. Padme still dies in that vision, maybe on a different world, maybe in a different way, but she dies. Then another vision hits him like a punch. He confronts Palpatine alone, right now. The red lightsaber snaps to life. Anakin tries to strike, but he underestimates the old man. Lightning, pain, failure. The Sith Lord escapes, furious, and now Anakin has no seat at the table, no access, no leverage. Simply swapping one set of robes for another won't fix anything. If the council wins, the same Senate stays. If the Senate wins, another Palpatine rises. The cycle continues, so a new thought forms, sharp and brutal. What if he doesn't expose Palpatine at all? What if he accepts the offer, become the apprentice, learn every secret the Sith have hoarded for 1,000 years? Let the galaxy think he has fallen, while he quietly charts the moment to turn all that power back on his master. The idea terrifies him. It also feels like the first honest plan he's ever had. Anakin drops to his knees in the center of the chamber. He doesn't recite the Jedi code. He doesn't speak the Sith code. Instead, he makes a vow to himself, to Padme, to the Force that has never stopped pulling at him. He will become the monster the galaxy thinks it deserves, if that is the only path to ending this endless corrupt war. When he opens his eyes, the decision is made. He will walk into Palpatine's office as a loyal student and begin a war the Emperor doesn't even know he's already losing. Hope you guys enjoy where that leads, because the next move Anakin makes will change every battle that follows, and the galaxy has no idea what he's about to do. Anakin leaves the council chamber with a bow, but his mind is already 3 moves ahead. He walks out like the loyal knight they expect, yet every step toward the speeder is part of a plan the Jedi never saw coming. Our story begins as Mace Windu gathers his strike team, 4 Jedi Masters, 1 Chancellor, 1 office high above a burning galaxy. The doors close behind them with that heavy finality, and Anakin is not at Mace's side. Because for Anakin, that is the entire point. He stays behind in the temple hangar, staring at Coruscant's endless traffic, not just torn, but listening to the Force, waiting to see exactly how this confrontation will break. He already knows Mace will not bring the full council. He's heard the whispers, the talk of removing Palpatine from office, of seizing control for the good of the Republic. Anakin doesn't have to push. He just has to let their fear and arrogance do the work. If Mace storms that office without a Senate mandate, without Yoda, without Obi-Wan, then no matter who wins, it will look like a Jedi coup. And in this timeline, Anakin is cold enough to see the use in that. As lightning explodes against Purple Blade, as the Chancellor's office fills with the shriek of power and the crackle of burning metal, Anakin is already on his way. He's not racing blindly, he times it. He feels the duel cresting like a wave. He knows Palpatine will play weak, that Mace will press harder, that the line between arrest and execution will blur in that tiny, deadly space near the shattered window. Anakin steps in. At the exact moment, Mace raises his lightsaber. He sees two combatants, yes, but also two collapsing masks. A Jedi Master pushed to the edge, a Sith Lord pretending to be cornered, and in between them, a single move that can lock in his cover for the rest of the war. His blade ignites. The decision is already made. When he cuts off Mace's hand, it is not a scream of panic, it is a sacrifice. One Jedi Master, in exchange for the Emperor's absolute trust. One ruined Jedi reputation, in exchange for a front row seat to every order, every secret, every weakness Sidious will ever reveal. It looks impulsive to everyone watching, even to Palpatine, but Anakin has been steering toward this moment since the opera scene, since the first story of Darth Plagueis. Lightning blasts Mace from the window as the city howls below, the smell of ozone, the echo of shattering glass, the weight of a galaxy shifting. Palpatine croaks the words he's waited years to say. You shall be known as Darth Vader. Anakin kneels. The hooded figure thinks he's won, but behind Anakin's lowered head, his eyes are ice cold, already thinking about clone protocols, temple defenses, and how far he can bend this new power before the Emperor realizes the game has changed. And even after everything, this is still only the opening move. Let's get right into where that leads next. The march on the temple begins the same way. Smoke over Coruscant, sirens, the clone column moving like a steel river up those endless steps, blue lightsabers and white armor reflecting the fires in the distance. But for Anakin, for Skywalker, this is not blind fury. This is a checklist. Every footstep echoes as he walks at the head of the fiver first. His face is stone. Inside, the Force is a cold map in his mind, showing signatures all through the temple. Masters, knights, younglings, healers, librarians. As the doors explode inward and the clones rush through, he isn't just attacking, he is sorting. Who must die? Who can live? Who will help him reshape the galaxy later, even after everything? The first targets are deliberate. The council chamber, the war rooms, the meditation spires where the most rigid masters are already gathering, blades ready, hearts utterly unwilling to bend. These are the ones who would never accept that the Jedi failed the Republic, never tolerate any shadow of the dark side, never follow Anakin into a new order. He cuts through them with terrifying speed, his blue blade flashing as the clones fire. Master and apprentice, light and dark, all of that is gone. Now it is Gardener and Tree, pruning branches he knows will strangle any chance at change. As Anakin moves, his voice is calm on the comm. A squad is about to sweep the lower archives. He redirects them up 2 levels with a single clipped order, claiming he senses survivors flanking them. In reality, he feels the cluster of frightened signatures below. Archivists, a few knights, a healer who once treated Ahsoka, and a group of younglings with strange bright presences in the Force. The clones never reach them. A maintenance blast door malfunctions at the perfect moment, sealing off their corridor and forcing them toward forgotten service tunnels. In the healing halls, he walks in personally. The clones raise rifles. Anakin lifts a hand and stops them. He tells them these patients are already neutralized, that their implants and injuries make them useless combatants. He orders a perimeter and moves on, but as he passes a Mirialan healer, he tilts his saber a fraction, carving a glowing line in the wall that points toward a hidden escape hatch only temple staff know. She thinks it's an accident. She will remember it as luck. Security recordings show something else. We remember Vader striding through the halls, cutting down defenders without mercy, his blade a blue storm. In this timeline, that is still what the cameras see, but every angle is chosen. When he ignites his lightsaber in the youngling's training room, he steps just out of frame of a side door sliding open behind him. His words are few, his posture monstrous, because he knows Palpatine will review every second. The galaxy must believe Darth Vader is an unquestioning butcher. His selective mercy has to live in the blind spots. When the night finally quiets, Anakin stands alone in the burning temple. The great columns are cracked, holobooks fall like ash, flames dance in his eyes as he walks to the distress beacon and reprograms it, just like in canon, but this time, he buries something deeper. A pattern of pauses in the signal, a subtle modulation in the carrier wave, a phrase only someone who studied temple codes for years would notice, a warning and a set of coordinates. For Anakin, this is the real order, not 66, but a scattered network of survivors who think the Force spared them by chance. As the beacon pulses out into the dark, a few ships will hear more than a trap, they will hear a question, and in our next section, we'll see who answers. Hope you guys enjoy, because that is our story for today in the temple, but not the end of Vader's plan. Our story begins again on Mustafar, but this time with a secret already burning under the surface. The lava rivers roar, the industrial platforms shake, and above it all, Anakin Skywalker arrives, knowing this is the test Palpatine has been building toward. The air is ash and heat, the platform shudders under his boots as he confronts the separatist leaders, and for a moment the fury is real. He hates what the war has done, hates what the Jedi became, hates that the galaxy let Palpatine rise. But as the doors close and his blade ignites, another part of him stays cold, counting bodies, counting lies, knowing Sidious is watching through every camera and every scream. By the time Obi-Wan steps off Padme's ship, Anakin's mind is split clean down the middle. One half is the betrayed apprentice, convinced his master has turned Padme against him. The other half is the strategist who spent years feeding Palpatine just enough anger to be believable. He feels the hurt, but he also knows he has to sell it. If he falters now, if he looks even once like a man playing a role, the most dangerous Sith Lord in history will sense it. Their lightsabers clash, and the sound is like thunder over lava. Anakin swings, Obi-Wan parries, the two of them spinning around each other as a narrow platform carries them downriver. There are flashes, tiny openings, where Anakin could stop. He could lower his blade and say it. I'm lying to him. Help me. He could grab Padme, use the Force to push Obi-Wan back, and flee this world forever. Every time that chance appears, he cuts it down himself. He drives Obi-Wan higher, onto the black sand, onto the metal arm, onto that thin strip of safety above the burning flow. Master and apprentice, brothers, now hanging over a sea of fire as Anakin's rage and calculation blur together. When Obi-Wan warns him not to try it, not to jump, Anakin hears more than a tactical warning. He hears an exit from the plan, and he refuses it. His jump is not just arrogance, it is a twisted wager. If he makes it, he proves his power to Sidious beyond any doubt. If he fails and is broken, then the monster Palpatine wants can be rebuilt in metal and shadow, a perfect mask for the man still hiding inside. For Anakin, even this disaster can become a weapon. Obi-Wan's blade cuts, and Skywalker falls. Flesh meets lava, and the pain is beyond words. As Obi-Wan walks away, Anakin screams, but under the agony, a single thought survives. If he lives, he will drag this suffering with him straight into the Emperor's throne room one day. On the operating table, the world is white, then red, then nothing but machines. Palpatine smiles as the mask lowers, believing he is sealing his ultimate servant. In that last moment of free breath, Anakin clings to one silent vow. This prison, this Vader, will be the key to ending him. And in the darkness behind the mask, something the Emperor never senses opens its eyes. The first breath inside the mask is fire. The first sound is his own ragged wheeze, echoing back at him like a stranger. The world is dim, narrowed to red-tinted lenses, and the weight of black armor locking every limb. He tries to sit up. Pain spikes through every nerve. Metal fingers curl. Servos whine. For Anakin, it feels like drowning in slow motion. Every inhale, a reminder of Mustafar's lava burning his lungs. Every exhale, a hiss that isn't quite his own. But as he rises from the table, something else happens. Every officer in the room freezes. No one sees a broken Jedi. They see Vader. Their eyes drop. Their backs straighten. Even the clone troopers, hardened by 3 years of war, flinch when his shadow passes over them. The two of them, Anakin and this new armor, take a single step as the platform of the operating table lowers, and the entire room seems to tilt around him. This body is torture, but it is also gravity. It pulls fear into its orbit. Palpatine speaks, smooth and pleased, circling his new weapon. Anakin listens. The mask does something the Jedi never could. It hides him. No tremor in his lip, no flicker in his eyes, no flash of rage or grief at the name Padme. Behind that blank visor, he can calculate, he can lie, and the Emperor will see only the monster he expects. He tests it early. When Palpatine asks about his pain, Vader's answer is flat, mechanical. Inside, Anakin is screaming. Outside, there is only that deep, distorted rumble. The disconnect is terrifying, and then it's useful. The Jedi always told him to control his emotions. The mask does it for him, and it turns his silence into something everyone else is afraid to question, so he leans into it. He crushes a captain for failure. He executes a surviving Jedi with a single, brutal lightsaber stroke. He orders a village burned for insurrection. Each act is real, each life lost, and Anakin feels every one of them like another scar under the armor. But he also watches the patterns spread through the galaxy. Stories of Vader travel faster than fleets, unstoppable, merciless. If he is the Emperor's unquestioned fist, then no one will ever suspect that sometimes, very carefully, that fist misses. In the months that follow, he studies the new Imperial court. He stands silent at Palpatine's side as governors bicker, admirals posture, and ambitious moffs try to impress their master. He notes which projects make Sidious lean forward, which names draw a hint of that cruel smile. The secret superweapons, the intelligence networks, the Inquisitors hunting down the last embers of the Jedi, and sometimes a key shipment is delayed. A promising officer is reassigned to a dead-end sector. A certain report never reaches the right desk. Small fractures, hidden in the armor of the Empire, pattern interrupt. One day, he lets a transport go. It's a minor thing. A freighter flagged for inspection near Lothal, captain suspected of rebel sympathies. The Star Destroyer's crew waits for the order. Instead, Vader turns away. No explanation, no correction. The freighter jumps to hyperspace, and somewhere in the stars, a future cell of the rebellion quietly survives. Later, alone in his meditation chamber, he finally removes the helmet. The hiss of seals breaking is almost a gasp of relief. The room is dark, lit only by red status lights that paint his scarred face in Sith colors. Without the mask, the pain is sharper, but so is the memory of who he was. He closes his eyes and reaches out with the Force, not to Palpatine, not to the cold machinery of his own body, but to a voice that once called his name on a landing platform in the rain. Padme. His whisper is rough, barely more than breath. Every atrocity, every step, he promises, is a stone in the road to him. I will end this. I will end him. For you, for our children, for the galaxy. The helmet lowers again. Vader rises, and the legend walks back into the light, already planning where the next quiet failure will be. From that moment, Vader turns every mission into a move on a didgeridoo board only he can see. On the surface, he is the Emperor's fist. Underneath, he is Skywalker again, picking which blows actually land. Our story begins with those early Imperial crackdowns. A Star Destroyer hangs over a shattered Separatist world, turbo lasers still cooling. Vader walks through smoke and ash, his black armor cutting through the haze as easily as a lightsaber through Durasteel. The local governor presents a list of suspected Separatist financiers and hidden Jedi sympathizers. Officially, all are to be executed. Unofficially, Anakin reads the file and notices 3 names who once opposed Palpatine's emergency powers in the Senate. He pauses. The troopers only see a mask tilt, a gloved hand wave. These are of no concern. Detain, then release, quietly. On another mission, a half-trained Padawan flees across a landing platform in the rain, blue blade flickering with fear. Vader drives her back, saber to her throat as stormtroopers watch. The order is clear, no survivors. But as lightning splits the sky, he senses her future, not as a threat to him, but as a future problem for Sidious. A rumor, a symbol, a survivor who will draw others away from the Emperor's shadow. His crimson blade hums inches from her neck, then snaps off. The fall killed her, he tells the commander later, as a small transport slips into hyperspace with its transponder mysteriously scrambled. Even after everything, the brutal purges inside the Empire itself start to look different. In canon, we see Vader choke ambitious admirals, cut down dark side adepts, destroy Inquisitors who grow too bold. Here, it isn't just wounded pride, it's isolation as a weapon. Every time Palpatine tests a new apprentice, every time a general starts dreaming of their own throne, Vader moves first. He duels them in training rooms, on hidden platforms above lava seas, in forgotten temples where the Force screams. He makes each death look like rage, but every corpse is another wall built around Sidious, keeping the old Sith Lord alone at the top with only one bridge to the future, Anakin. At the same time, he begins to quietly bend the Empire's machine. A superweapon project on Geonosis loses shipments, a key Kyber crystal convoy is redirected through a pirate-heavy sector. Rebel cells on Lothal and Corellia raid depots that somehow have fewer guards that day. Reports show incompetence, bad luck, random jumps. In reality, Vader has signed off on every reroute. He never leaves fingerprints, always maintaining just enough terror and just enough success that no one questions his loyalty. Around him, a different kind of army forms. A junior officer spared from execution after a failed maneuver, a technician who should have been punished for a hyperdrive malfunction, but instead receives a quiet transfer. A squad of stormtroopers who watch their commander about to be choked, only for Vader to stay his hand and say, "You will learn. See that you do." Each of them walks away shaking, certain they stared into death and were pulled back. Each of them now answers to him first, the Emperor second. Over years, these tiny mercies become a hidden skeleton inside the Imperial body. A captain delays a bombardment because Lord Vader requested further scans. A logistics chief misfiles fuel shipments that end up in the right rebel hands. No one sees the pattern, but the galaxy starts to feel it. Cracks in the perfect cage. Far above, on Coruscant, Palpatine sits in his throne, eyes half-lidded, feeling faint ripples in the Force, delayed projects, surviving Jedi, fleeting sparks of rebellion that should have died. He smiles, dismissing it as the natural chaos of ruling a galaxy this vast. After all, his apprentice is utterly loyal. The entropy, he thinks, comes from below. He never imagines it's coming from the black figure at his side, already planning the next quiet failure. Let's get right into it in the next section, where those tiny fractures finally start to glow. So instead of going straight to the throne room, we cut away. The galaxy blinks, and our story begins somewhere completely different. Not Coruscant, not Mustafar, an industrial world on the edge of nowhere, where the sky is choked with smoke and the ground is nothing but factories and foundries. Massive cranes swing over loading platforms as workers move crates of blasters and proton torpedoes, and buried in that chaos, a rebel cell is trying to steal enough weapons to arm a sector. They think this is a small, dirty victory. They think the Empire will send a Star Destroyer captain, maybe an Inquisitor. Instead, the air goes still. Every sound seems to drop away as a single shuttle descends through the smog. Darth Vader has decided to oversee this one personally. Stormtroopers line up in terrified silence as his black armor hits the deck with a heavy step. The hiss of his respirator cuts through the factory noise. Officers snap to attention, but their fear is different from the rebels hiding in the rafters. The Imperials are afraid of punishment, the rebels are afraid of death. Only Anakin Skywalker, inside that suit, is watching both. As reports stream in, he listens, but not to their words. He reaches out with the Force, feeling panic, courage, desperation. He is not here just to crush a raid. He is here to choose survivors, to decide which sparks should live long enough to carry the story of this monster. Blaster fire erupts as troopers clash with rebels on a conveyor platform high above a river of molten slag that looks just a little too much like lava. The whole place shakes. Alarms blare. Vader ignites his lightsaber, that red blade snapping to life as he strides into the middle of it. He cuts down rebels in brutal, efficient sweeps, sending bodies off the edge with a flick of his wrist as the platform shudders under the impact. To everyone watching, it is a massacre. To him, it is choreography. He drives one group toward a sealed maintenance tunnel he already unlocked through a sliced security panel. He hurls a crate with the Force, appearing to miss, but actually smashing the only camera that would have seen those doors cycle open. In the chaos, 3 key rebel leaders are funneled right where he wants them. A fallen girder creates cover, a blast door malfunctions and refuses to close. A trooper's stray shot takes out a control box at exactly the wrong time. It all looks like failure. Then he turns that failure into a weapon. On the main deck, he rounds on the local commander, cape swirling, voice like a verdict. He accuses him of incompetence, of letting rebels escape. The officer stammers, insists the system's glitched. Vader lifts him by the throat, snaps his neck without a second thought, and throws the body down in front of the terrified ranks. Even after everything, he needs them to believe this. He orders a full purge of the remaining cell, leaves no obvious survivors, and files his report. To Palpatine, he speaks of crushed resistance, seized weapons, another world cowed. The Emperor is pleased. The numbers look perfect. Far below, in a stolen transport racing into hyperspace, those 3 rebels gasp for breath. They speak in hushed voices about the Sith Master who almost killed them, about the narrow, impossible escape. They clutch stolen data that should have been destroyed, never knowing it is exactly the intel Vader wanted them to carry. For Anakin, this is just one mission, one quiet move in a much longer game. And as we jump back to the larger story in the next section, we'll see how many of these failures it takes before the galaxy realizes who was really steering the war. As we pull back from that single rebel cell, the camera widens, and we see the other weapon Vader has shaped for his long game, the Inquisitorius. Our story begins in a different kind of arena now, not a battlefield, but a training hall filled with red blades and broken oaths. These are not random dark side thugs. They are former Jedi, temple younglings who survived, fallen knights, and Force-sensitive hunters dredged up from the shadows. Palpatine twists them into Jedi killers, gives them numbers instead of names, and tells Vader they are his, while quietly making sure they can also be used to watch him. Useful hounds, but also collars around Skywalker's throat. If Vader ever grows too strong, too independent, Sidious wants options. Vader understands that from the first moment he sees the Grand Inquisitor ignite his spinning lightsaber. He trains them, he brutalizes them, he drives them across a shifting platform over a bottomless pit, hammering their defenses with heavy, mechanical strikes as sparks rain down. 2 fall, 1 crawls. Vader does not help. As the survivors gasp, he is already cataloging them in his mind. This one is ambitious, easy to flatter. That one is terrified, easy to steer. Another is so fanatical to Sidious that any hint of mercy would expose him. For Anakin, this is just another battlefield, only the armor is different. He listens when they report, watches how they react when he corrects them, and files away every weakness. Some he strengthens, because strong, predictable tools are useful. Some he leaves broken, because a weak blade will shatter exactly when he needs it to. So when word comes of a hidden Jedi on a distant world, Vader does not always rush to claim the kill. Instead, he sends a particular Inquisitor, or a pair that hate each other, fully expecting them to fail. He feeds them partial intel, just enough to make them overconfident. On Lothal, on Corellia, on nameless backwaters, Inquisitors march in with spinning blades and leave in pieces, their deaths quietly trimming Palpatine's pool of potential apprentices. Every failure is a data point. Every lost Inquisitor is one less rival Sidious can raise over him. And then, there are the rarer moves, the ones that feel almost like the old Anakin. A coded transmission sent seconds before the hunters arrive. A power fluctuation that kills the lights in a hangar, giving a cornered Jedi just enough cover to escape. The target never knows who helped. The Inquisitor only knows they were humiliated. Palpatine sees the report, sees Vader arrive later and finish the job with cold efficiency, and his trust in his black-armored enforcer deepens. High above the training arena, Vader stands on a metal balcony, cloak unmoving in the stale air. Below, Inquisitors clash, their red blades screeching as they jump from platform to platform. He does not see colleagues. He sees pieces on a board, each one something he can sacrifice to keep the galaxy and his master exactly where he wants them. For now, because the day is coming when one of those pieces will move in a way Palpatine never planned. Above the Inquisitorius arena, Vader turns away from the clash of red blades and returns to the only place in the galaxy where he can be truly alone. The meditation chamber seals. Darkness. Then the shell opens like a black flower and the mask lifts with a hiss. For a second, there is no Darth Vader. There is only Anakin Skywalker, scarred, eyes closed, listening to the hum of his respirator echo through the metal coffin. And in that sound, the visions come. They are never clean. Mustafar bleeds into everything. Padme on the landing platform, her hair whipped by the heat, her hand on her stomach as the lava throws orange light across her face. Her voice breaks as she says his name, Anakin, and the respirator drowns the rest out. The chamber pulses with that mechanical breath as another sound cuts cuts through it, thin and piercing, a baby crying. It overlaps with the roar of fire, with Obi-Wan shouting that he has the high ground, with the snap hiss of a blue lightsaber igniting. Twin suns flash behind his eyes, low over a desert horizon. Sand, wind, a small silhouette against endless sky, and that same cry, now a little stronger, carried on the Force like an old wound that refuses to close. Palpatine told him they died. He remembers the Emperor's words as clearly as he remembers the smell of burned flesh on that broken shore, but the Force keeps throwing these fragments at him, again and again, as the respirator rises and falls. For Anakin, this is not mercy, this is evidence. So Vader starts to test it. He never types the search himself. He never leaves a trace that a slicer could find, but Imperial intelligence is his to command, and it only takes a few quiet orders. Cross-reference birth records from Polis Massa, scan refugee movements from the last days of the war, flag any infants born within days of Padme's death, especially those moved quickly, especially those tied to senators like Bail Organa or any world with twin sons. He reviews reports in silence as Star Destroyers glide past his viewport. Names, worlds, false leads, a moisture farm on Tatooine, an adoption on Alderaan. Each possibility makes him slow his sabotage by a fraction. He cannot simply burn everything and everyone. Not anymore. Because if a child survived, if children survived, then his long game is no longer about a vague, better future for the galaxy. It is about an inheritance, a throne of stability instead of fear, a system so strong that no one will ever threaten what is his again, even after everything he has done to get there. In the chamber, he replays old conversations with Padme, like hollows he can never quite touch. Nights on Coruscant when she spoke about democracy, not as weakness, but as a promise. Her belief that compassion and strength were the same thing when used to protect, not to dominate. He had scoffed, talked about power and decisive action, about how the Jedi and the Senate were too slow to act. Now those words twist together. Master and apprentice, husband and wife, light and dark. Padme wanted a galaxy where people could live without fear. Palpatine wants a galaxy frozen under his shadow. Vader's secret plan has to walk between those, using Sith methods to build something that still, somehow, honors the woman who died, believing there was good in him. He knows his child, if they exist, might never see that. They might only see the monster, the black armor, the red blade. They might grow up hearing that Darth Vader burned the Jedi from the stars. The chamber closes, the mask locks back into place with a final, heavy click. Later, standing on the bridge of his Star Destroyer, Vader stares out at a starfield that seems to go on forever, each point of light a world he might be shaping for someone he has never met. "If you are out there," he whispers, voice filtered through the vocoder, almost lost under the engines, "I will build a galaxy strong enough to protect you, even if you grow up hating the name Darth Vader." And with that vow buried beneath the armor, our story begins to shift again, as every choice he makes from here on is no longer just for Palpatine or for Anakin, but for the unseen Skywalker, who might be watching from somewhere among those distant suns. Let's get right into it in the next part, because the moment the Emperor senses even a hint of this, everything will explode. And everything does explode, just not the way the Emperor expects. Our story begins this time in the cold void over Tatooine, as the Star Destroyer Devastator swallows the Tantive Ife in a wall of turbo-laser fire. To Palpatine, this is a cleanup operation. To Vader, it's the first open move in a new game, because by now, Anakin Skywalker has already let the blades slip. The Death Star plans are gone, scattered through the galaxy, and not by accident. He has failed to intercept transmissions, missed minor leaks in Imperial security, and allowed just enough time for rebel cells to coordinate. On the surface, he is the perfect enforcer. Under the mask, he is quietly making sure the Emperor's ultimate weapon is not invincible. Vader understands power. A single station that can erase worlds does not just terrify systems. It centralizes everything into Palpatine's fist. If the Death Star stands forever, there is no room for a future where Vader can steer the Empire, or where any Skywalker can challenge the throne. So he needs that station to be feared, to be used, and eventually to be destroyed. The Force has shown him what happens when all the lava flows into one river. It consumes even the one who thinks he controls it. On board the Tantive Arfa, he advances through smoke and sparks, lightsaber humming. The stormtroopers drag Leia before him. Outwardly, it's routine brutality. He chokes, he threatens, he throws her into a cell, but he never uses the fastest, darkest tools at his disposal. No deep mind rip, no immediate probe to tear the base location from her thoughts. Instead, he sends her to the Death Star. He buys time. Time for the plans to reach a farm boy. Time for the rebellion to become more than scattered embers. On the station, we watch him play a different game. Grand Moff Tarkin basks in his new toy, and Vader feeds that fire. When Tarkin proposes testing the weapon on Alderaan, Vader does not stop him. He questions, lightly, then yields, letting Tarkin hear only what he wants to hear. When the rebels are found on Yavin, Vader supports the decision to stay on board, to prove the Death Star's might in one decisive blow. He knows this arrogance. He once stood on a narrow platform over a lava river and thought he could not fall. As the battle unfolds, his tie spins through the trench, hunting the unknown pilot who feels so strangely familiar in the Force. He fails to stop the shot. The station erupts behind him in a blooming sphere of fire, and Vader's fighter spirals away into the dark. He screams, "Yes, the monster must rage." But inside the armor, Anakin Skywalker has just erased the greatest symbol of Palpatine's fear rule and survived. Hope you guys enjoy where this is going, because as Vader steadies his ship and reaches out into the stars, he feels another presence waking, and in the next part, that presence is going to turn his long game into something far more dangerous. That presence out in the stars sharpens. It's not just a flicker anymore. As Vader steadies the controls of his starfighter, that awareness hooks into him like a memory of a name he's tried not to think about for 20 years. On the bridge of the Executor, our story begins again. Cold light, endless starfield. Officers murmuring about a rebel pilot from Tatooine who fired the shot that killed the Death Star. Tatooine. The word hits Vader harder than any blast. A Skywalker was born there. A Skywalker bled there. And now some farm boy from that same dust ball has just changed the war with a single, impossible shot. He doesn't react at first. Just silence. Just that slow mechanical breathing as the reports play. The Force-sensitive reflexes. The way the pilot flew, like he knew where every tie would jump before they moved. The way he trusted something unseen and let go in the trench. Vader listens as the officers talk about luck and targeting computers, and inside the armor, Anakin feels the truth slam into him. His child is alive, not hidden in some quiet corner of the galaxy, but already shaping it. From that moment, the hunt begins. But it is not the simple, possessive Sith hunt the officers think it is. For them, this is about eliminating a threat. For Anakin, even after everything, it is about finding the one person who might understand both the light that Obi-Wan clung to and the darkness he's waded through for years. The one ally who could stand with him when he finally turns his blade on Palpatine. He throws the ship into motion. Star Destroyers redeploy. Admirals are yanked out of hyperspace mid-operation. He chokes one officer so hard, the man's boots leave the deck, not only because of failure, but because that man wasted probes on meaningless sectors when Vader can feel something else. In the quiet moments between briefings, he stands at the viewport and reaches out with the Force, searching for faint echoes that feel like his own presence reflected back at him. So officially, probes are sent to track rebel cells. Secretly, Vader adjusts their coordinates a few degrees here, a few systems there, toward places that tug on him. The Outer Rim, old hyperspace lanes, worlds where Anakin Skywalker once flew and laughed and dreamed of freedom. Every redirected spy, every quiet course correction, is another step in a pattern only he can see. When he finally says, he will join us or die, on the Executor, the officers flinch at the threat, but inside, it's a brutal equation. If Luke does not stand with him, then Palpatine will sense him, claim him, and eventually destroy them both. There is no middle path in the Emperor's galaxy. Later, alone, Vader stares at a flickering hologram of Luke Skywalker. The boy's eyes are bright, stubborn, too much like his. Vader's hand lifts, almost a father's touch, then curls into a fist. He has to protect this son. He has to break him free from the Jedi's simple light-dark story. Because for Anakin, the only way forward now is through a truth the Emperor can't control. Let's get right into it in the next part, because that choice is about to pull father and son onto the same platform, with the whole galaxy hanging over the lava below. Our story begins in the cold, bright corridors of Cloud City, sterile white walls, soft humming machines, and somewhere beneath it all, a pressure, like the whole galaxy is holding its breath as Luke Skywalker walks into a trap his father designed for him. Vader stands at the center of that web. He has chosen this place carefully. No crowded Coruscant streets, no Republic Senate, no Jedi Temple, just quiet halls, metal platforms, and a single, perfect arena, the carbon freezing chamber. Steam rises in slow columns as the orange light cuts through the dark, and Vader waits on that platform like a spider, cape still, lightsaber not yet ignited, feeling Luke's presence grow closer through the Force. In canon, his deal with Lando feels like pure cruelty. Han in chains, Leia betrayed. The table already set when our heroes arrive, but for Anakin playing the long game, this is surgery, not sadism. He needs Luke's attachments exposed and threatened. He needs Han and Leia to feel unsafe, not because he hates them, but because he believes Luke cannot face Sidious while still clinging to the Jedi's soft mercy. If Palpatine can rip those bonds away later, Luke will shatter. So Vader does it first, on his terms. Hand lowered into carbonite is more than torture. It is a lesson. This is what the Empire does. This is what the Emperor allows. And when Leia's scream echoes through the chamber, Vader watches Luke's future flash before him. If Luke is going to stand before Sidious and survive, he has to know what real loss feels like and still keep moving. The duel begins. Blue blade against red, metal against metal as they clash through the freezing chamber and into the stark corridors. Vader drives Luke back, then lets him recover. He hammers his guard, then suddenly pulls a blow, letting it slide past Luke's neck instead of through it. He's not trying to win quickly. He's trying to shape, to bruise pride, to break stance, to force Luke to draw deeper on his own power without tipping fully into rage that would hand him to Palpatine. Watch the way Vader herds him. A step to the side, a heavy strike to Luke's shoulder, and suddenly the only way out is a jump onto that narrow platform above the abyss. Vader could end it there. Instead, he toys with distance, testing Luke's balance, his fear of falling, his trust in the Force, and then, the bomb, the moment that rewrites the whole fight. I am your father. In this timeline, it's not just a twist, it is a weapon aimed at Obi-Wan and Yoda as much as at Luke. Vader is offering truth where the Jedi offered silence. He wants Luke to feel that crack. If they lied about this, what else did they bend? Maybe light and dark isn't as simple as they said. Luke falls, wind screaming, the abyss rushing up. But as he drops, Vader reaches out, not just calling his name, but sending a single, burning thought through the bond they now share. Survive. Grow. Next time, choose me over them. And as Luke disappears beneath the city, Vader turns away, already planning the next move. In a game Sidious still thinks he controls, Vader turns away from the wind and the screaming chasm of Cloud City. The platform doors seal, the sound cuts off. For Anakin, the real storm is inside the mask. Alone in his meditation chamber, the armor splits open around him. Darkness. Then the hiss of the seal breaking, the helmet rises, and the world shrinks down to a dim red glow, and the slow mechanical rasp of his own breath. He closes his eyes and replays every word. I am your father. Luke's horror, Luke's refusal, Luke's jump. He sees that moment over and over. Luke stepping back, Luke looking at the drop, Luke choosing the abyss over him. It should feel like rejection. It should feel like failure. Instead, Vader studies it like a tactician studies a battlefield, because that fall told him everything. His son will not be owned. Not by the Jedi, not by the Empire, not even by his own blood. Anakin reaches out through the Force, searching the galaxy for that bright, stubborn flame. He finds it, faint but alive, clinging to a falcon racing into hyperspace. There is fear there, yes, but also something else. The same reckless hope that once made a boy from Tatooine charge a droid control ship with no plan, except, I can do this. Even after everything, that hope didn't die on Bespin, and that is where the dread begins. Because as he feels Luke, he feels another presence coil around that light like a shadow. Sidious has noticed. The Emperor's thoughts are colder than the void outside the ship, and Vader can taste the curiosity in them. A new Skywalker, a new blade to wield, a new apprentice, or the perfect instrument to finally shatter what little of Anakin still resists. Vader's metal fingers curl against the arm of the chair. Death doesn't frighten him anymore. He already burned in lava. He already lost Padme. He already watched his own name die on a Mustafar platform. What terrifies him now is a different vision. Luke in black, eyes yellow, voice empty, cutting down worlds without hesitation, while Sidious laughs. The boy's empathy, his idealism, twisted into a purer cruelty than even the Clone Wars ever saw. For a heartbeat, the mask becomes a confession booth. He considers the unthinkable. He could hunt Luke down and end him himself, a mercy killing before Sidious brands him with the full weight of the Sith, or he could tear everything open, reveal the whole long game the next time they meet, beg his son to see the man inside the machine. But no, not yet. One confrontation was not enough. Luke still clings to Kenobi's lies, to Yoda's warnings, to a child's view of light and dark. Vader decides he needs one more meeting, one more chance to show Luke the Emperor's true face, and pull him into a different kind of alliance. The chamber seals him back into the armor. The helmet locks. When he speaks again, his voice is calm, that familiar mechanical growl. "Inform the Emperor," he tells the nearest officer. "I request an audience to discuss how we might use Skywalker to crush the Rebel Alliance." On the surface, it is loyalty. Inside, Anakin is already placing pieces on the board, turning this audience into the first move of a final showdown he intends to win. Hope you guys enjoy where this is going, because our story begins its endgame the moment Vader dares to think Sidious is no longer the only one playing. Vader leaves that audience chamber with a clear objective: get the Emperor, get Luke Skywalker, and get them in the same room before Sidious realizes who has really been moving the pieces. Our story begins its endgame above Endor. The second Death Star hangs unfinished, a jagged metal crown over the forest moon. When the Emperor's shuttle arrives, the whole station seems to hold its breath. Stormtroopers line the platform. Officers snap to attention. The air is heavy, not just with fear, but with the weight of a galaxy balanced on one man's smile. Vader stands at the base of the ramp as that shuttle descends, short, silent, waiting. As the landing gear locks and the ramp lowers, he can feel the dark side thickening, like the heat off Mustafar's lava. This is the most dangerous place in the galaxy now, because if Luke comes here, if Luke walks these halls, one wrong move means death. For Sidious, or for them both, Palpatine speaks of the final stages and the fully armed and operational battle station as they walk together. Vader listens. He files away every detail. The fleet massed around Endor, the shield generator below, the trap being built for the Rebel Alliance. And quietly, he begins to lean on the Force, nudging officers, suggesting deployments, tightening some patrol routes while leaving others just a little loose. A Star Destroyer is reassigned a few degrees off standard orbit. A sensor net recalibration is delayed by 6 hours. A scout team that might have swept a certain clearing on the moon is redirected to a different valley. On paper, it all looks like Vader enforcing the Emperor's will. In reality, he's carving a single narrow tunnel through a mountain of Imperial firepower, a path where a stolen shuttle and a small strike team might actually reach that shield generator alive. When Luke arrives with that stolen shuttle, Vader feels it instantly, a presence on the edge of his mind, familiar, bright, pulling at the mask he has worn for decades. He lets the shuttle land. He lets the code clear. Then, instead of ordering it destroyed, he chooses to confront his son personally on the forest moon. On the Endor platform, the night is cool and quiet, metal under their boots, trees looming beyond the light. Luke steps out in black, but his eyes are steady. Their conversation plays almost word for word as we know it, but the meaning bends. When Vader says, "It is too late for me, son," part of him believes it. The burned man inside the armor, the one who remembers Obi-Wan and Padme, thinks his fate was sealed on that broken platform above the lava. But another part is testing, pushing. Can Luke feel the fracture in his voice? Can he sense the tiny opening Vader is leaving, the way his blade never leaves his belt, the way his grip on the binders is firm, but not cruel? For Anakin, this is a probe as much as a capture. Is Luke ready to hear that the monster of the Empire has been playing a longer game than anyone guessed? Finally, Vader brings Luke up to the Emperor's throne room. The lift doors close. The hum of the station surrounds them. Outwardly, he is the perfect servant delivering a prize. Inwardly, every circuit in the suit feels like it's humming with the same thought. This is it, the room he has been building towards since Naboo, the moment where his son either becomes his ally or his executioner. And as those doors open on Sidious's smile, the Force itself seems to hold its breath, waiting to see which Skywalker will strike first. Hope you guys enjoy where this is going, because what happens next will decide whether Anakin's secret war ends in victory or in the darkest failure yet. The doors slide open, and our story begins again in that throne room. Cold light from the stars spills across the floor. The Emperor sits back in his chair, smiling as if the entire galaxy is already his. Luke is marched in, defiant. Vader stands at his side, silent. On the surface, it looks like the classic scene. Master gloating, son resisting, father trapped in the middle. But in this timeline, under that black mask, Anakin Skywalker is not just a weapon. He is watching both of them like a hunter, waiting for the exact move that will finally let him strike. Sidious rises and circles Luke. As the battle station hums around them, he talks about the rebel fleet. He talks about their friends dying. Every word is a blade meant to cut away Luke's hope. His taunts are calculated, every insult designed to push Luke toward hatred, to make him see mercy as weakness and rage as power. This is how Palpatine trains. Drown you in fear, then offer the dark as the only way to breathe. Vader, though, has used a different method. On Bespin, on Endor, he pushed Luke with cruelty, yes, but also with truth. He showed him the cost of war, the weight of attachment, the way the Jedi and the Sith both twist the Force for control. For Anakin, all of that was a brutal lesson. Power without compassion is just another prison. Now, those two opposite trainings collide in one Skywalker heart. When Luke finally snaps and ignites his lightsaber, Vader moves in, blades clashing in a storm of green and red. To the Emperor, it looks like loyal enforcement. To Luke, it feels like a wall between him and the monster on the throne. But Anakin is steering the entire duel. He blocks killing blows that would end the game too soon, blocking Luke's blade at the last second, forcing him to turn aside. He allows certain strikes to land, letting Luke's saber glance off armor, letting sparks fly, feeding Luke's righteous anger without letting it tip fully into the dark. Their blades crash against the stairs as the platform vibrates under them. Vader drives Luke back, then suddenly yields ground, giving Luke the opening that leads to that furious barrage. When Luke's rage finally explodes and he hammers Vader down, severing the hand, the mask hits the floor with a heavy echo. For a moment, everything stops. Luke looks at his own mechanical hand. He steps back. He refuses to kill. Vader falls, breathing harshly, and inside the mask, Anakin understands. His son has done what he never could on Mustafar. Luke has found a way to fight without surrendering his core compassion, to stand in the fire without becoming the lava. Palpatine's smile dies. Lightning erupts from his fingers and slams into Luke, hurling him back. The room fills with that terrible scream of raw power. As Luke writhes on the floor, Vader watches. Every instinct tells him to stay still, to protect his cover. But this is the one chance he has waited decades for, the moment to remove his master and finally reveal where his true allegiance has always been. And as Luke's cries echo through the chamber, Anakin knows he has only a heartbeat left to decide which future the galaxy gets. Hope you guys enjoy where this is going, because what he does next will change everything, or end everything, even after everything he's already sacrificed. In that heartbeat, as Luke screams and the blue lightning tears into him, the galaxy finally sees a monster. But inside the armor, Anakin Skywalker sees a finish line he has been crawling toward since the first time he shook Palpatine's hand. Vader stands frozen. The throne room hums with power. Luke writhes on the floor as the Emperor laughs, absolutely sure that nothing in this chamber can touch him. And in that moment, decades of playing the obedient apprentice crash against one simple truth. The Chosen One either moves now, or everything he sacrificed becomes meaningless. He watches Luke's body arch under the lightning. He hears Padme's last words. He remembers a boy on a dusty platform on Tatooine, promising his mother he would come back and free everyone. Master and apprentice, father and son, light and dark, all collide in his mind as he measures the distance between the throne and the reactor shaft and realizes this is the exact window he has always waited for, because Anakin has seen this weakness in Sidious before, on the invisible hand, when Dooku knelt and Palpatine demanded execution. In the Senate office, when Mace had his blade at the Chancellor's throat, and Sidious gambled everything on Anakin's jump to his side. In every war council where the Emperor spoke of destiny and inevitability, Anakin quietly marked the pattern. Palpatine always overextends when he thinks he's already won. Vader understood something his master never did. Palpatine believed attachment was a chain. Anakin learned, slowly and painfully, that it could also be a knife. If he could ever get the Emperor to pour all his hate, all his focus, into another target, there would be a blind spot, a heartbeat where the most powerful Sith in the galaxy simply would not be looking at him. That is exactly what he has now. The lightning keeps coming. The room shakes. Luke pleads. And for Anakin, the choice is not sudden redemption. It is the final move of a game he stretched too far. He steps forward, fingers flex, servos whine. He knows the suit will not survive direct contact with that storm of power, but his survival was never the guarantee. The real win was always this: Palpatine dies here, with no trained successor, no secret apprentice waiting in the wings, just one half-trained Skywalker and a broken empire. Vader moves. He lifts the Emperor, not cleanly, not like a Jedi Master, but like a man throwing away his own chains. It is a spontaneous act of love and the execution of his oldest contingency in one motion. As the lightning rips through his armor, burning circuits, searing flesh, he holds on. Even after everything, he refuses to let go until the body falls and the throne goes silent. Later, on the Death Star hangar, when Luke removes the mask, Anakin finally drops the last lie. No more voice filters, no more Vader persona, just a scarred man admitting he tried to play both sides of the board for too long and nearly lost himself completely. He tells Luke the truth as much with his eyes as with his words. He was never invincible, never in full control, but he bought this one chance. For Anakin, that is enough. And as alarms scream and the station begins to die around them, our story begins to shift toward what a galaxy without Palpatine and without a prepared Sith heir is going to look like. Hope you guys enjoy where this is heading, because the fallout of that final move is going to reshape everything. But what if the story doesn't end on that hangar floor? What if this version of Anakin Skywalker, who has been playing Palpatine for years, refuses to die when the station starts to come apart? The superstructure groans. Fire races down the corridors. Luke is still kneeling over the shattered armor when he feels it, a faint pulse in the Force where there should be nothing. Vader's chest panel flickers, a wheeze, a spark, and suddenly the suit that should have failed is barely, just barely, holding together. Luke drags him up, short steps, short breaths, longer stretches of twisted durasteel and collapsing bulkheads as the Death Star tears itself apart around them. Every time the floor bucks, Anakin's ruined limbs slam into the deck, and Luke has to decide, in that instant, whether to let go of the weight that is Darth Vader or hold on to the father who just threw the Emperor to his death. He chooses to hold on. They stumble into a shuttle bay as a burning tie crashes across the far wall. The platform shudders. The hangar shields are failing. Luke half carries, half pulls the black armor up the ramp of a stolen shuttle, slamming the controls as alarms scream. Master and apprentice, father and son, launching into open space, while the battle station dies behind them like a collapsing star. Pattern interrupt here. The films cut to victory and fireworks. Our story begins instead in a cold, bright medbay. Aboard a rebel cruiser, medical droids swarm the broken frame of Vader. Limbs are removed, cables are replaced. The mask is lifted just enough for scanners to pass over scarred flesh before being sealed again because his life still depends on it. Leia stands at the viewing window, arms folded so tightly it almost hurts. The man on the table ordered her torture, watched her planet burn, and yet now, even after everything, he is also the one who ended the Emperor. For Anakin, this is the price of the long game. He wanted a galaxy without Palpatine. He never planned to be this exposed while it happened. Hours later, he wakes, weak, breathing raggedly through repaired systems. The door opens, and instead of stormtroopers, Mon Mothma walks in with rebel leaders at her side. Their faces are set like blades. They see the symbol of the Empire, the black armor that haunted their nightmares. But Luke is there too, and so is Leia, and they have to decide whether to execute the monster or listen to the mastermind. Anakin offers what only he can: codes, contingency plans, hidden fleets, the truth about how deep Palpatine's shadow really went. He can stabilize a galaxy on the edge of chaos, or he can lie and seize power again. Can a man who secretly played the Sith Lord for decades ever be trusted by the people he manipulated, even if his endgame was their freedom? That answer is going to decide whether this victory becomes peace, or the beginning of something far darker. Hope you guys enjoy where this branch is heading, because their choice here is going to change everything that comes next. The answer doesn't get time to breathe before the galaxy starts tearing itself apart. One moment, the Emperor's presence is a crushing weight in the Force. The next, it's just gone. No blaze of power, no final speech, just a void that slams into every sensitive mind from Coruscant to the Outer Rim. Star Destroyer bridges fall silent. Inquisitors stagger mid-interrogation. Moffs clutch at their chests, not from grief, but from the sudden, terrifying realization that no one is in charge anymore. On Coruscant, the hollow of Palpatine's death hits the Imperial Palace like a bomb. Our story begins in that throne room's echo, as officers shout over each other, as red-robed guards look at one another with no orders left to follow. Some admirals instantly declare themselves regents. Others lock down their fleets, waiting to see who survives the first round of betrayals. The Empire was built to obey one voice. Without it, every sector governor, every ambitious warlord thinks they should be that voice. But here is where Vader's quiet war finally pays off. For years, Anakin has been trimming the tree, the loud competent rivals, the Moffs who actually understood logistics, the admirals who could have unified the Navy, the Inquisitors ruthless enough to command fear on their own. They've died in mysterious accidents, been reassigned to doomed fronts, or vanished on secret missions that never reported back. What looks like chaos is actually the hollow shell he's been carving out from the inside. So when Palpatine falls, there is no Tarkin, no Thrawn, no single iron will ready to step in. Just fragmented task forces, half-finished superweapons, and regional commanders who suddenly realized their support networks were quietly cut years ago. For Anakin, all those brutal inspections, all those executions that seemed like Sith cruelty were something else, removing anyone who might wear the crown after his master died. Out in the wider galaxy, the rebellion can't believe what they're seeing. Entire garrisons power down shields and open gates. Star destroyers transmit surrender codes before the first rebel cruiser even jumps in. Mon Mothma and Admiral Akbar stare at tactical readouts that look like a dream. They think the Emperor's death shattered Imperial morale overnight. They don't know that hidden inside those ranks are officers Vader has been nudging, sparing, and quietly promoting for years. Men and women who saw him crush fanatics, protect civilians on pacification missions, or deliberately miss chances to annihilate rebel cells. When his flagship goes dark and his last coded signal ripples out, those people understand. Stand down, live, let this end. On some worlds, joy erupts instantly. Statues come down, prison doors open, Old Republic flags and hastily drawn rebel symbols fly from rooftops. But in other regions, the Empire was the only thing keeping the fires contained. The moment the garrisons pull back, crime syndicates surge out of the shadows. Local warlords seize weapons depots. Without Imperial Star Destroyers in orbit, long-buried feuds explode into street battles. In this fragile dawn, Luke and Leia stand on a rebel command deck, watching a galaxy that looks free and on fire at the same time. They've destroyed the Emperor, they've survived the monster in black, yet every report they read, every surrender code traced back to a ship that should have fought to the last, whispers the same truth. Vader did this. Anakin Skywalker shaped this fall from the shadows, even after everything. So now the twins have a harder choice than blowing up a battle station. What do you do with the man who made this victory possible, and also made it necessary? Do you put him on trial, or put him in charge of cleaning up his own war? Because somewhere out there, in the ruins of the Empire he helped build and break, Vader is still alive, and the galaxy hasn't decided yet whether that's its last hope, or its next Emperor. The galaxy finally finds him, not on a Star Destroyer bridge or a burning platform over lava, but in a cold, bright hall on liberated Chandrila, where the banners of the rebellion hang beside tattered Imperial standards turned upside down. This is not a battlefield, this is a verdict. Our story begins with silence. Anakin Skywalker, still in the black armor of Vader but unmasked, stands in the center of a circular chamber. Around him, tiers of seats are packed. Mon Mothma and Bail Organa, Grim Alliance generals, a few former Moffs under guard, and scattered among them, robed figures who survived when the temple fell. The force in the room feels tight, like a held breath. They do not start with questions, they start with the dead. A former senator from Ryloth steps forward. Her voice shakes as she describes stormtroopers marching through villages while Vader watches, hands behind his back, as if inspecting crops instead of corpses. A Mon Calamari officer recounts the occupation of Mon Cala, how Vader's blade cut through unarmed leaders, how their people were forced into Imperial shipyards that later fed the very war the rebellion had to fight. Then a scarred doctor from the Nar Shaddaa prison speaks. He tells them about interrogation cells, about a black figure who could crush a mind without raising his hand. Every detail is specific, ugly, undeniable. Even after everything he did to kill the Emperor, the shadow of Vader still fills the chamber. Anakin listens. He doesn't flinch. When they finally turn to him, there's no dramatic jump to his feet, no outburst of power. He just raises his head. He admits it. Every massacre, every torture order he did not countermand, every world he let burn, so Sidious would never suspect the quiet sabotage on 10 others. He explains how he fed Palpatine victories that looked perfect on the surface, while underneath he rerouted supply lines, spared key senators, and kept certain Jedi fugitives just out of the Emperor's reach. For Anakin, this was the only way to get close enough, long enough, to strike. He doesn't ask them to forgive him. He tells them to look at the record, ships that malfunctioned at the right moment, governors reassigned before they could start purges, rebel cells that somehow slipped through nets he designed. He says he chose which horrors happened and which never did, and that this choice damns him as much as it helped them. The chamber fractures. A former Imperial admiral argues that a weapon this sharp can't just be thrown away. If another Sith rises, who else understands that darkness like the man who wore it? A surviving Jedi, eyes hard, answers that using Sith methods to guard the galaxy only guarantees another Emperor. If they build their new republic on Vader's bargains, what exactly are they rebuilding? Voices rise. Some want execution, some want exile, some want him leading a special council chained by oath and oversight. No option feels clean. On one balcony, Luke and Leia stand side by side, watching their father. Luke sees the man who turned back on the Death Star, who broke the Emperor's lightning with his own body. Leia sees the man who ordered Alderaan's occupation plans, who would have hunted her down if she'd been found earlier. When the shouting finally slows, all eyes drift toward them, almost unconsciously. They realize it at the same time. Their choice won't just decide if Anakin Skywalker lives or dies. It will decide whether this new galaxy believes in redemption at all, or decides that some sins are too heavy for even the Force to balance. And as they share that loaded glance, they both understand something else. Whatever they say next is going to shape the Skywalker name forever. Hope you guys enjoy where this is going, because the hardest decision is still ahead. Luke doesn't answer them right away. He just turns and walks out. That Skywalker stare distant, like he's looking at something far beyond the council chamber. He doesn't go to Leia. He doesn't go to Anakin. Our story begins for this section in silence, in one of the old meditation rooms, where the windows show a scarred Coruscant trying to remember how to be a capital instead of a battlefield. Luke kneels. The floor is cold. The Force hums, restless. As he closes his eyes, the voices come back. Obi-Wan warning that once Vader starts down the dark path, it will dominate his destiny. Yoda, calm and absolute, insisting that attachment leads to jealousy, that the shadow of greed is born from love. Their words circle him as clearly as if they're standing at his shoulders, masters judging their last student. But another memory cuts through. A throne room, a green lightsaber tossed aside, his own voice, shaking but certain, declaring, "I am a Jedi, like my father before me." He remembers the smell of burning circuits, the Emperor's lightning, the moment Anakin chose him over power. Attachment saved the galaxy that day. Attachment broke Vader's chains. Luke opens his eyes and stands. Meditation isn't enough. He heads for the archives. The rebuilt temple is still half empty, but the records are not. Hollows of Mustafar, of that burning lava river, reports of the purge, names, faces, systems wiped out under Vader's command. Luke scrolls through testimony from survivors who saw the black armor, the red blade, the man who never hesitated when he gave the order to jump from ship to ship, hunting them down. Every file is a weight. Every scream he hears in those recordings feels like it's asking him one thing. Are you really going to spare him because he's your father? For Anakin, the war was always about control. For Luke, this is about truth. Has love blinded him the way the Council once feared? Or is the old Jedi answer, cut all ties, show no mercy, just another path to failure? He realizes something as he walks back through those dim halls. The old Order's rigidity broke them. The Sith's ruthlessness devoured the galaxy. Maybe the Jedi way he's meant to build is not one or the other, but a bridge between accountability and mercy, justice and compassion standing side by side instead of at war. So he goes to the only person who can make that choice real. Anakin is alone in a medical wing, armor off, scars exposed, the mighty Vader reduced to a tired man in a simple tunic. The room is quiet, no guards, just machines and breathing. Luke doesn't bow, he doesn't smile, he just asks, voice low but sharp, if all of this, decades of terror, was ever truly worth it. Did Anakin really believe the ends justified every broken world? Would he have ever stopped if Luke hadn't walked into that throne room and forced his hand? Anakin tries to answer. He talks about Palpatine, about playing a part, about sacrifices he thought he had to make. But when Luke presses, would you have stopped? Anakin can't meet his eyes. That's the moment Luke walks out of that room with his heart in pieces, but his mind clear. He knows what he has to tell the Council now, even if it shatters Leia's trust and feels like he's handing his own father over to judgment, because mercy without truth is just another lie, and the Skywalker name has had enough lies. And as Luke steps back toward the Council doors, he feels something shift in the Force, like the galaxy itself is holding its breath, waiting to hear whether he chooses chains, a cell, or something far, far harder. Let's get right into what that choice actually is in the next section. Hope you guys enjoy where this is heading, because the price of redemption is about to get terrifyingly real. That is our story for today, at least for this chapter of Luke's dilemma. Even after everything, the hardest cut is still coming. So while Luke is out there wrestling with that impossible choice, the door to Anakin's future actually swings open from somewhere else, from Leia. Our story begins in a cold, bright corridor deep inside the Rebel flagship. Guards line the walls, blasters ready. No one relaxes, because behind that final Durasteel door sits the man who choked admirals from across the galaxy and watched worlds die without blinking. The man Leia once knew only as Vader. The door hisses open. Leia steps through. The cell is simple, almost insultingly small for someone who once commanded Star Destroyers, but the air feels heavy. It's Alderaan's ashes. It's the echo of a torture droid. It's every scream that followed the hum of his red lightsaber. Anakin Skywalker sits on the bench, unshackled but surrounded by hidden Force dampeners. He looks up, eyes tired, no mask, no respirator, no armor. For a heartbeat, Leia sees Luke's face there. Then she remembers the platform on the Death Star, remembers him calling her prisoner, not daughter, and the softness burns away. She doesn't ease into it. She attacks, words instead of a blade, but just as sharp. She lists the worlds he burned, the senators he intimidated, the pilots he cut down. She talks about the jump to hyperspace, away from Alderaan that never came, because there was nothing left to jump back to. She brings up the cold table on the Death Star, the mind probe, the way he stood there and watched. How, she demands, voice shaking, does any of that become part of some grand plan? How do you look at a planet full of children and decide their deaths are just pieces on your board? Anakin tries to answer, and this is our pattern interrupt, because for the first time since Mustafar, he doesn't reach for power, or anger, or the easy lie. He admits it. He tells her he believed that if he could keep the horror controlled, if he could aim it, he could stop the galaxy from sinking into endless, leaderless wars. He thought one empire, one monster, might prevent 1,000 smaller nightmares later, but even after everything, he doesn't dress it up as noble. He says it doesn't absolve him, that Alderaan is on him, that every life crushed under his boot is not Palpatine's alone. Leia hears the words, but her hands are fists. Her political instincts are already spinning because she knows what Luke knows. This man understands the Imperial machine better than anyone. He knows every weak weld in the armor, every secret order, every name that never made it into the Senate records. For Anakin, cooperation could save millions, and yet, the thought of sitting in a council room and nodding while Vader offers advice makes her sick. How do you legitimize the man who once stalked her cell, who hunted her friends, just because now he's the one who threw Palpatine down instead of obeying him? When she finally leaves the cell, she doesn't slam the door. She just stops in the threshold, looks back once, and walks away like she's leaving a battlefield. Luke is waiting. She tells him, quiet but firm, that whatever they choose to do with their father, they cannot sell the galaxy a clean myth. Anakin Skywalker was both liberator and oppressor. The story can't pretend he was just a hero in disguise, because every survivor, every orphan of the Empire, deserves to remember both truths. And that decision, to tell the whole story, is going to change what happens next. The chamber goes quiet. No one rushes to speak first. The choice they make here will echo farther than any lightsaber swing Anakin ever took. The easy answers hang in the air. Execute him, and the galaxy gets a clean story. A neat ending to Darth Vader. Pardon him, and the galaxy gets a lie. A hollow legend about the secret hero who did nothing wrong. The Masters look out over the ruined skyline of Coruscant as if the broken towers themselves are asking what justice looks like now. Mace is the first to cut through the silence. He says killing Skywalker might feel like balance, but it would also make a martyr, a symbol for every angry world that only remembers the Jedi as generals and Anakin as the man who finally killed the Emperor. Yoda adds that ending his life would also erase the one person who truly understands how Palpatine twisted the Force, how he turned a republic into an empire with just words and fear. But then Obi-Wan speaks, and his voice is tired. He says a full pardon would be a betrayal, not just to the younglings in the temple, not just to Alderaan, but to every nameless system that watched Star Destroyers blot out their sons. Even after everything, Obi-Wan will not let the Order hide behind a prophecy and pretend Anakin was just a misunderstood savior. So they build something new, not execution, not absolution. A sentence that is a life's work. Anakin will live, but under constant watch. No throne, no council seat, no army to command. The man who once led fleets will never again hold political office or military power. Instead, the council decrees that the rest of his years will be spent rebuilding the very worlds he helped shatter. He will walk through the ashes of cities that feared Vader's shadow. He will listen to survivors curse the name Skywalker. He will train a new generation in a reformed understanding of the Force, not as a weapon of the Order or the Senate, but as a responsibility to those who can't lift a blade. That is our story for today, but for Anakin, it is just the beginning of a sentence that feels like a lifetime. Anakin doesn't argue. He doesn't bargain. He simply bows his head and accepts it, because this is the only path he can see that honors both sides of his war against Palpatine, the lives he secretly saved and the lives he openly destroyed. Hope you guys enjoy seeing him finally choose the hard road instead of the quick jump to power. This judgment becomes the first real law of the New Order. Even the strongest are accountable, but justice doesn't have to mean a blade to the neck or a cell in the deepest prison. It can mean restoration, service, years of slow, visible change. Our story begins again on a scarred world at the edge of the galaxy. The gunships open their ramps. Anakin steps down onto cracked ground under a red sky. No armor, no cape, just a tired man with a lightsaber at his belt. No stormtroopers, no marching music, only workers, refugees, and the distant skeletons of fallen towers. He takes a breath of dusty air. The wind stings the old burns on his face. He doesn't ignite his blade. He just walks forward into the ruins, ready to start the slow, humbling work of repair. Our story begins in those ruins. Not with a battle, not with a jump over a lava river, but with something way harder for Anakin Skywalker than any duel, starting over. Days turn into weeks as word spreads through the galaxy. The Emperor is dead. Vader was the blade that did it. Luke Skywalker walks beside him, not as a prisoner, but as a son. And quietly, almost nervously, Force-sensitive kids start to arrive on transports that look more like aid ships than war machines. Luke meets them first. Gentle voice, firm eyes. He doesn't tell them to purge emotion. He doesn't say, there is no passion. He says, there is passion, and you have to know what it does to you. Around a campfire in a half-collapsed hangar, he tells the story of Anakin, of Vader, of a boy who loved too hard and trusted the wrong person. It isn't a taboo, it's the first lesson. Sometimes Anakin stands in the shadows, listening, sometimes he walks away. For Anakin, having his life turned into a cautionary tale stings, but it's also honest in a way the old Jedi never were. When Luke finishes, Anakin steps forward and does something no Jedi Master ever did for him. He explains the trap. He talks about how the Sith twist fear into power, how they teach you to lock your pain away until it explodes, how the thrill of a single brutal victory can feel cleaner than a dozen patient compromises. As he speaks, he shows them subtle Force techniques Sidious loved, the little pushes in a Senate debate, the way anger can sharpen your senses just enough to make you think you're seeing clearly. Luke lets him go just far enough, then counters with his own lessons on empathy, on community, on accountability, so you never stand alone at the edge of a dark choice. Leia watches all of this with a politician's eye and a survivor's memory. She remembers how a secretive Jedi council, sitting in high towers, missed the Sith Lord right under their noses. So she lays down one condition for this new order: no more shadow deals. The Jedi will be independent, but not hidden. Their finances are public, their missions are logged. If they advise the new Senate, it's on record, not whispered in back rooms where another Palpatine could rise. Tension simmers. Some students stare at Anakin like he's a legend, the man who walked into the throne room and ended the nightmare. Others flinch when they hear the name Vader, when they remember stories of burning worlds and a red lightsaber cutting down anyone in his way. Luke has to build a curriculum that hits both sides at once. Hero worship and demonization are just different ways of refusing to see a person clearly, so he teaches them that the Force is not about simple labels. Not Jedi good, Sith bad, end of story. It's choices, patterns, habits. It's what you do when no one is watching. Even after everything, Anakin stands there as living proof that someone can walk into the deepest darkness and still drag themselves, bloody and burned, back toward the light. One evening, the training yard is quiet. No Senate debates, no war councils, just younglings with dull training sabers, giggling as they practice simple blocks and footwork. Anakin leans against a broken pillar, arms folded, watching the blue blades flash. He sees their fear, their excitement, their questions. He sees kids who will grow up knowing exactly how the Sith operate, who will never be told to simply ignore their anger and hope it goes away. For the first time, the Chosen One prophecy doesn't feel like a sentence. It feels like an invitation. Balance isn't just killing a master on a Death Star, it's teaching a generation that will never be so easily played. But as Anakin watches those sabers rise and fall, a new problem is already forming at the edge of this fragile peace. As Anakin watches those training sabers rise and fall, the problem finally has a name. Palpatine wasn't just one monster, he was a blueprint. If the galaxy doesn't change its rules, someone else will wear that same smile, sit in that same chair, and pull the same strings. So our story begins again, this time not on a lava platform, but in a vast hall on Chandrila. Banners of a half-born New Republic hang from the ceiling. The air hums with quiet arguments. Leia Organa stands at the center, not as a princess, not yet as a formal chancellor, but as the one person everyone trusts just enough to try something new. Former senators, planetary leaders, even a few reformed Imperials sit in a circle, not rows. No more throne. Leia opens the Constitutional Convention with something no one expects. She doesn't promise order, she promises limits. She talks about how a single vote, a single emergency act, turned a chancellor into an emperor. As she speaks, Anakin is in the shadows along the wall, hood down, scars visible, not hiding who he was as Vader. When she falters on the legal language, he quietly steps forward. Anakin starts listing, one by one, the exact levers Palpatine pulled, the Emergency Security Act that never expired, the clause that let him command the clones without Senate review, the way he combined the titles of Supreme Chancellor and Commander-in-Chief, so every blade in the army pointed wherever he said. For Anakin, each example is a memory, a face, a planet that burned. They rewrite everything. No more open-ended emergencies. Term limits that cannot be suspended, not for war, not for fear. Every military deployment logged and visible to the public within days. A chancellor who can be removed mid-term by a supermajority of worlds, not just senators. It's messy, it is slow, but that's the point. Then comes the pattern interrupt. Anakin insists on something that makes the entire hall go silent. An independent council, outside the direct control of any one branch, with authority to oversee both the military and Force users. Jedi, Guardians, even any future Skywalker who picks up a lightsaber will answer to transparent review. Masters will rotate. No one sits in the same chair forever. Even after everything, Anakin demands to be the first to stand before them. Not everyone is happy. Worlds that profited under Imperial shipping lanes, governors who liked knowing one call could bring a Star Destroyer, they push back. They warn of chaos, pirates, another clone war. Leia and her allies have to balance freedom with a promise. Local defense forces stay strong, but no single voice can command the entire galaxy the way Palpatine did. Finally, they go back to where it all began. The last intact Imperial throne room, cold and echoing, is dismantled piece by piece. No dramatic explosion, just hands and tools and time. In its place, they build a public memorial, open sky above, with the names of victims carved into stone, and beside them, the names of former perpetrators who chose a different path. Anakin traces both sides with his fingers, feeling the Force stir around them. This time, the galaxy is writing its own prophecy, but power never sleeps. And in the shadows beyond that memorial, something old is already waiting for a chance to return. The memorial stands silent. The names don't. They echo through the galaxy in arguments, lectures, and late-night holocalls as people try to decide what, exactly, Anakin Skywalker really was. Decades after the lava, after the suit, after the last time his red blade snapped to life in anger, historians sit under cool temple lights and fight over labels. Some slam their hands on the table and say Vader was a tyrant who happened to kill his master at the end, nothing more. He enforced Palpatine's will, broke worlds, shattered families. The fact that he eventually turned on Sidious is, to them, an accident of fear and survival, not heroism. Others push back and call him a flawed savior, a man who walked willingly into the monster's armor so he could get close enough to end the Sith and the war from the inside. The debates get heated. Did he save the clones from full extermination by quietly sabotaging orders, or did he just not care enough to finish the job? Did he protect key senators so a future republic could be born, or did he simply keep useful pawns alive? Master and monster, liberator and butcher. The titles swing like a lightsaber through smoke. Out in the holonet though, nuance doesn't sell. Holodramas flatten everything. One series paints Skywalker as a tragic hero who was always good inside, his double agent plan exaggerated into a perfect, spotless masterstroke. In that version, every atrocity is secretly staged, every scream is part of the script, and Vader never truly falls. Another popular show does the opposite. It mocks the idea of a secret plan as self-serving revisionism, turning him into a pure villain who only pretends to regret anything once the Empire starts to crack. Luke and Leia watch these stories spread like fire. They sit in quiet archive rooms with old recordings, intercepted orders, and personal logs that could burn away the myths in a single broadcast. For Anakin, for the victims, for the future, they release enough to make sure Palpatine and the Empire can never be romanticized. They show the prisons, the fear, the broken worlds, but every time they hover over the darkest files, the temple massacre angles, the private torture feeds, they hesitate. How much of their father's worst moments does the galaxy need to see to learn, and how much would just turn pain into spectacle? Anakin himself walks slowly now. The armor is lighter, the breathing easier, but time has done what even Obi-Wan's blade could not. He is sometimes invited to speak to advanced students, to new senators, to young Jedi who grew up hearing legends instead of feeling the terror. He stands before them, a living reminder that power and good intentions are not safeguards against corruption, that the Force does not stop you from falling just because you think you're the chosen one. One day, after a long lecture, a young Padawan steps forward. Her voice shakes, but she asks the question everyone else circles around. Was it worth it, playing the monster for so long, letting so many suffer so he could stand next to Palpatine and wait for his moment? The room goes still. Even after everything, Anakin doesn't reach for a grand speech. He just looks tired. He tells her, honestly, that he doesn't know, that maybe no one ever will. What they can do, he says, is learn from his uncertainty, not just his victories. Never trust a story that makes the darkness look clean, and somewhere, beyond that quiet hall, new powers listen and take notes. Our story shifts from that quiet hall to something even stranger for the Skywalkers. Peace, no crowds, no Senate, no war room hollows. Just a little stone house on Naboo, tucked above a lake that once echoed with Padme's laughter. It's evening, the air is warm. Lanterns sway over a simple table on the terrace as local birds skim the water. Luke passes a bowl of stew, Leia pours tea. Anakin Skywalker, without armor, without a mask, sits between them like he's still not sure he's allowed to be here. For a moment, nobody talks. Spoons clink. The galaxy feels far away. This is the life he used to dream about when he wasn't jumping from platform to platform over lava, when his lightsaber wasn't the only language he trusted. It's quiet now, and that quiet is almost louder than any battle. Leia is the one who finally breaks it. Her voice is steady, but there's a hesitation that even a non-Force user could feel. She asks about Padme, not the senator's speeches, not the holonet image. She wants to know about the woman who loved the idealistic Jedi Knight and still reached for the man who became Vader. Anakin doesn't answer right away. His hand tightens around the cup. He talks about the late country, about stolen days where power meant nothing, and he could just be a boy from Tatooine trying to impress a queen with bad jokes and worse politics. He admits that Padme loved the best in him long after he'd stopped believing it was there, that her faith shaped every choice he made, even when those choices twisted into something dark. Then he looks at both of them, and the apology finally comes, not just for the bodies, the burned temples, the red blade. He apologizes for the years they spent fighting a shadow he created, for the childhood stolen because his long game against Sidious turned the whole galaxy into a board. He thought he could carry it alone. Instead, the weight landed on his children. Luke answers first. He always does. His forgiveness is open, not naive, grounded in the same belief that pulled his father back from the brink of that throne room. For Anakin, Luke says, the choice to stop pretending and come home matters more than every lie that came before. Leia's answer is different, softer, sharper. She tells him she accepts the man here on Naboo, but she will never forget the monster who walked her halls on Alderaan. Both are true, both are him, and if they're going to move forward, she needs him to carry that truth with her, not hide it behind another mask. As the sun sinks, all three of them stand at the railing. The sky burns gold and crimson over the water, like lava cooled into something gentle. The Force hums quietly between them, not a storm, just a tide. Balance isn't forgetting, it's standing together, past and present intertwined, and as that light fades, Anakin feels a new disturbance on the edge of his senses, something that suggests his long game may not be finished after all. Anakin feels that ripple in the Force, that quiet warning, and it pulls us back from the balcony into the bigger question. What does a Skywalker like this actually mean for the prophecy, for balance, for the whole galaxy? Our story begins with the Chosen One, not as a pure hero, or a pure monster, but as someone who has lived in both skins, farm boy and war hero, Vader and father. In this timeline, balance doesn't come from light destroying dark on a lava bank with one final jump. It comes from someone who has drowned in the dark, crawled back to the light, and remembers exactly why the darkness felt so tempting in the first place. That makes the prophecy messier, more human. Instead of a clean equation, it becomes a person who understands that fear, anger, and love all sit on the same line, and the Force flows through all of it. But there's a cost to playing that line. This Anakin weaponizes Sith tactics. Deception, fear, deliberate cruelty. He lets his blade drip red when it needs to. He lets the mask of Vader terrify systems into obedience, while he quietly sabotages Palpatine from within. The question is brutal. Does an end as big as saving the galaxy really justify years of screams in Imperial cells? He chose not to stop. Pattern interrupt for a second. Think about the younglings in the temple. In canon, that scene is straightforward horror. Here, maybe some of them are smuggled out, maybe some are illusions, maybe some are real. Any way you slice it, he decided who lived and who died for the sake of the long game. That is where this version of Anakin becomes hardest to judge. The Jedi always feared attachment. They feared what love would do to a warrior with Anakin's power. Yet here, love is the engine of everything. Love for Padme makes him accept the mask instead of dying on Mustafar. Love for Luke makes him keep playing the part of Vader, so his son has a chance to grow in a galaxy that still believes in hope. And at the end, whether he throws Palpatine down a shaft or turns himself in and loses his freedom, it is love that finally snaps the chain. In that way, the Force stops feeling like a rigid light-dark switch and more like a spectrum. Intention matters, context matters, accountability matters. A blue lightsaber in a Jedi's hand can be used for cruelty, and a red blade in Vader's fist can, in this story, sometimes protect the innocent. So what do we do with a Skywalker like that? Is this Anakin more tragic because he carries every sin with full awareness, more heroic because he walks through hell on purpose, or more terrifying because he proves that a smiling savior can hide behind any mask? Even after everything, how we answer that says a lot about the way we judge complicated figures in our own world. Let's get right into it in the next part, where that new disturbance he feels finally steps out of the shadows. So as that new disturbance steps out of the shadows, this is the moment to zoom out, because in this timeline, Anakin didn't just stumble into darkness. He built a cage around the Emperor and then convinced Palpatine it was a throne. Our story begins again, back at the opera. The blue lights of the performance wash over Anakin's face. Palpatine leans in with the tragedy of Darth Plagueis, expecting a terrified, desperate apprentice. Instead, Anakin listens, files every word away, and makes a quiet decision. He will study this man. He will mirror his tone, his patience, his political game. From that night, their mentorship becomes a duel in slow motion, two predators circling as the galaxy keeps spinning. That's why the office duel with Mace Windu hits so differently here. The blades clash, the glass shatters, and Anakin walks in not as a confused pawn, but as someone who already chose his battlefield. He ignites his lightsaber. He sees Mace about to end the Sith, and with him any chance to infiltrate the new Empire from the inside. When he cuts off Mace's hand, he isn't just saving Palpatine. He is sacrificing the Jedi's image, forcing the Order to fall so he can rise beside the Emperor, close enough to one day strike for real. From there, Order 66 becomes a scalpel, not a hammer. Clones turn, the temple burns, but Anakin's path through those halls is selective. He targets the most rigid masters who would never compromise, never listen, never follow him into a reformed future. In hidden rooms, he spares archivists, healers, young knights who doubted the council like he did. Secret holocrons vanish into his cloak. Knowledge survives, even after everything, because Skywalker plans for a galaxy after Sidious. Years later, as Vader, that same cold planning shows up in metal and fire. The armor is a prison, but also a mask. He signs off on the Death Star, but nudges key designs toward overconfidence. Critical exhaust paths stay. Certain officers who question the project mysteriously live. Sabotage doesn't always look like explosions. Sometimes it's one unchecked weakness left sitting above a lava core, waiting for a proton torpedo. And finally, we come back to that throne room. Luke's blade, Palpatine's lightning, the same Emperor who once whispered about Plagueis, now drunk on his own power. When Anakin lifts him, it isn't a sudden change of heart. It is the final move of a decades-long plan to get his master isolated, arrogant, and blind to the danger at his side. He takes the jump, not off a Mustafar platform this time, but off the path Palpatine wrote for him. Hope you guys enjoy seeing how all these moves connect, because in the next section, we'll push this timeline one step further and ask what the galaxy does when the monster behind the mask was playing hero all along. So now we hit the part of the story that stings a little. The Emperor is gone. The throne room is quiet. The most dangerous Sith Lord in galactic history is lying at Anakin Skywalker's feet. And yet the galaxy is still echoing with the sound of his own breathing as Vader. On paper, the ledger looks almost clean. Palpatine never fully wins. His own apprentice slowly hollows out the Empire from the inside, turning Grand Moffs against each other, stalling superweapon projects, feeding just enough intel to keep the rebellion alive. The war ends not with a desperate last jump over a lava river, but with the old master finally outplayed by the broken knight he thought he owned. In this timeline, a new republic can rise without the same blind trust in the Senate. A more balanced Jedi tradition can grow, because Luke and Leia have seen exactly what happens when the Order forgets people and worships rules. The clones are long gone, the Inquisitors disbanded or redeemed, and the idea of a chosen one is less prophecy and more warning label. For Anakin, the long game works. The galaxy actually gets a shot at something better, but then you flip the ledger over. On the other side are the bodies. Jedi cut down in temple halls, while Vader stands at the front. Younglings who never learn to lift a lightsaber because they never live long enough to feel the Force. Worlds like Ryloth and Lothal crushed under Imperial boots, while Anakin plays along to keep his cover, and Alderaan, still gone. A planet silenced in an instant while he watches, calculating what he can save and what he can't. Every time he ignites his blade in some back alley purge, every time he walks past a prison cell and does nothing, he is choosing the mission over the moment. The legend of Vader becomes a scar the whole galaxy carries, even after everything he secretly does to end the nightmare. So here's the question that sits at the center of this timeline, like a cold star. Could a straightforward rebellion, with no double agent on the throne, ever have beaten a Sith Lord as cunning as Palpatine? Or was a monster on purpose, a Vader who knows exactly what he's doing, the only realistic way to get close enough to strike? If someone in our world claimed they were committing atrocities to topple a greater evil, how would you judge them? Does intention soften the horror, or make it worse because every choice was clear-eyed and deliberate? That is our story for today, but not our answer. In a galaxy like Star Wars, is there room for a hero who wins by becoming the villain on purpose? Or is that just another Sith lie waiting to happen? If you're still here, still in this story with us, after everything we just put Anakin through, then you're not just a casual fan. You're one of the 5-hour what-if warriors, the kind of Star Wars fan who actually wants to live inside these timelines, to feel every choice, every turn of a lightsaber, every quiet moment where the galaxy could have gone another way. We started with a boy on hot sand, a young slave on Tatooine, looking up at the stars, dreaming of power he didn't understand yet. Our story begins with that wide-eyed Anakin, and we've walked with him all the way to the cold echo of Vader's armor, to the moment he chose to play the monster so he could try to cage an even worse one. Master and apprentice, brothers, now inverted again as Skywalker steps out from behind the mask and tries to rebuild what he helped break. We've watched him stand on Mustafar's crumbling platform, lava roaring beneath as he pretended to fall. We've seen him kneel in front of Sidious, blade lowered, while secretly counting every breath the Emperor had left. We followed him into that black armor, not as a prison this time, but as a weapon he wielded against the Master who thought he owned him. And then, even after everything, we watched him become a teacher instead of a tyrant, trying to guide a wounded galaxy back toward the light. If you've ridden that whole journey, you're exactly the kind of viewer this channel is for. This is the home for long-form Star Wars storytelling and analysis. For timelines where a single jump on Mustafar, or a single word in the council chamber, sends shockwaves through the entire saga, we take familiar movies and twist them just enough that you can't watch them the same way again, always asking what it really means for Anakin to be the chosen one. And because you helped us hit this crazy subscriber milestone, we are keeping our promise. We're doing the giveaway. To enter, all you have to do is drop a comment with your verdict on this version of Anakin. Is he a hero who saved the galaxy from the only angle he could? A villain who crossed too many lines and used the Force as a scalpel on people's lives? Or something in between, a Skywalker who never fully leaves the lava behind? Tell us your verdict, tell us why, and you're in. From here, we're going to keep pushing. More timelines where Obi-Wan makes a different call on that broken platform. More stories where Luke meets a very different Vader, or where Leia is the one holding the blue blade in the dark. In the next section, I'll point you to some of those what-ifs directly, so if you loved this long game Anakin, let's get right into it and send you to the next galaxy-breaking choice. So if this was Anakin's masterstroke against Sidious, you don't have to stop here. Our story begins to branch again, the second you click into the Anakin No Vader playlist I've put on screen. That's 5 hours of Skywalker what-ifs, built around the same pressure points we just twisted here. Mustafar, Order 66, the temple bombing, Mortis, the prophecy. In that playlist, you'll find timelines where Anakin never takes the jump on that burning platform, where he throws his lightsaber aside in front of Obi-Wan and walks away from Palpatine's war entirely. There's a version where he exposes the inhibitor chips, frees the clones, and Padme stands with him in the Senate, as the Republic turns on Sidious in daylight instead of in a dark office. There's one where he turns on Palpatine during the opera scene, not the window, and another where he raises Luke from childhood as a Jedi reformer instead of as Vader in a mask. If you like the idea of Anakin playing the long game from within, that playlist is basically his whole life, rewritten around that same instinct. For Anakin, every decision becomes a move on a galactic Daedric board. Sometimes he kills Sidious on Mustafar, sometimes he never goes to Mustafar at all. Sometimes he uses his power to build a humbler Jedi Order out on Lothal, far away from Coruscant's corruption, and the galaxy never sees an empire. But maybe you want to see the other side of this war. Pattern interrupt here. What if Palpatine wasn't fooled? On the end screen, I'm also putting a direct contrast video, a timeline where Sidious senses Anakin's double agent play from the very beginning. In that story, every whispered compliment, every promotion, every "you are the chosen one" is bait. The Emperor engineers a fake rebellion, a staged Jedi coup, and a trap on Mustafar, designed not to break Skywalker's body, but to break his secret plan. If you enjoyed this alternate take, like the video so more Star Wars fans can find it, and subscribe if you haven't yet, because we are not done testing what the chosen one could have been. Share this with that friend who always argues about the prophecy, about whether Vader's redemption was enough, about if the Force ever really balanced after Endor. In the comments, I want specifics. Pitch your own twist on Anakin plays Palpatine. Maybe he fakes losing the duel on the lava bank. Maybe he uses the Vader suit to sneak Jedi younglings out of Imperial space. Or point to exact scenes from the films you think snap in half under this new context. The Temple March, the balcony on Mustafar, Luke saying, "I know there is good in you." Hope you guys enjoy exploring those branches. In this galaxy, the mask was never the prison, it was the plan. That is our story for today, and as the next what if fades in, another version of Anakin is already igniting his blade. But now imagine the same mask, the same plan. Except this time, the Emperor figures it out. Our story begins in the early years of the Empire, long before Luke, long before Endor. Vader stalks through Star Destroyer corridors, crushing admirals, failing to find certain rebel couriers, letting one stolen freighter slip here, one coded transmission go unscrambled there. On the surface, it's just the brutal chaos of Palpatine's new enforcer. Underneath, it's the same long game. For Anakin, every tiny sabotage is another crack in the Empire's armor, but Palpatine did not conquer the galaxy by missing patterns. In this darker branch, he sits alone in his throne room on Coruscant as the starfield glows outside. He closes his eyes, he feels the force flowing through the web of his empire, and he feels something wrong, not open betrayal, a rhythm, a design, the same outbursts, the same mistakes, always at just the right moment to spare a world, to let a cell escape, to keep Obi-Wan's name whispered in the Outer Rim. So the Emperor decides to test his monster. He creates a rebel cell from nothing. Agents from Imperial intelligence are dressed as freedom fighters. Old Clone Wars surplus is painted with worn Republic sigils. A fake leader is built from rumors. A survivor of Order 66. A Jedi who supposedly escaped Vader's blade on a burning platform above a lava river. Sidious leaks this phantom cell into the same channels he knows Vader has been quietly protecting. Then, he sends his apprentice to destroy it. Vader arrives on a barren moon. The air is thin. The wind howls over black rock. Blaster fire lights up the night as stormtroopers clash with these carefully scripted rebels. In the middle of the chaos, Vader feels it. Fear, hope, the faint echo of the temple. He hesitates for half a heartbeat as his lightsaber hums inches from the fake Jedi's throat, and somewhere across the stars, Palpatine smiles. From that moment, the training changes. The praise becomes colder, the missions become sharper. Palpatine begins grooming a backup. Maybe it's the Grand Inquisitor, suddenly invited to secret audiences. Maybe it's a young dark side prodigy pulled from the unknown regions. Someone who looks at Vader the way Anakin once looked at Obi-Wan. Sidious feeds Vader false intelligence, shifting targets at the last second, watching how his apprentice reacts when civilians are suddenly on the line. The net tightens. The lies cross. The day comes when subtlety dies. On some forgotten world, in a throne room of black stone, instead of the second Death Star, Vader ignites his blade against his master years too early. No Luke, no plea from a son, just Skywalker, broken armor, sparking, trying to drag the Chosen One prophecy across the finish line with raw power and will. Could he win without that last spark of hope? Or does the galaxy fall into something even worse? If you want to see that branch play out blow by blow, let's get right into it in a full video. Hope you guys enjoy imagining what happens when the ultimate manipulator realizes he's the one being played and decides to play back. So to really feel how wild this what if is, we have to put him side by side with the Anakin we actually got on screen. Same Skywalker, same prophecy, same lava, and the same burning platform on Mustafar, but a completely different way of using that fire inside him. Canon Anakin is a storm with a lightsaber. He loves hard. He fears hard. He jumps before he thinks. From the moment he leaves Tatooine, he's driven by emotion, by that need to never be powerless again. When Shmi dies, he doesn't plan. He explodes. When Padme is in danger, he doesn't slow down. He grabs at any promise of power. And when Palpatine whispers about controlling death, Anakin doesn't test the story. He clings to it like the only lifeline in the galaxy. That's why his fall is so fast. One night in the opera box, one confession in the council chambers, one choice in the Chancellor's office, as Mace raises his blade. Canon Anakin is manipulated because his fear of loss and his pride are raw, exposed nerves. He wants control, but he never really controls himself. Our long game Anakin starts with those same scars, but he treats them differently. He still hears the Sand People screaming in his sleep. He still sees Padme dying. The difference is, somewhere between Geonosis and the opera scene, he stops letting those visions drive him like a speeder with no brakes, and starts asking, who benefits from my rage? Who gains when Skywalker loses control? Instead of being ruled by his emotions, he learns to weaponize them. The temper becomes a mask. The reputation for recklessness becomes a tool. For Palpatine, it looks perfect. A Jedi who will sell his soul for power. But under the surface, this Anakin is mapping the board, using every outburst as cover to get closer to the real Sith Lord. Both Anakins share the same core flaws. The pride that says, I can fix everything. The attachment that says, I will not let them go. The distrust of the Jedi Council and the Senate that sees all the cracks in those institutions. Canon Anakin lashes out blindly with that pride, cutting down younglings because he's cornered. Long game Anakin turns the same pride into a cold promise. If anyone is going to reshape this galaxy, it will be me, not my so-called master, and that raises a scary question. Which is more dangerous for the galaxy, the man who falls in one night of terror, or the man who smiles, kneels, and pretends to fall while quietly counting every weakness his master shows? If Padme had glimpsed that colder calculation behind his eyes in the Senate apartment, would she have pulled him back, or tried to steer it into real leadership? If Obi-Wan had sensed that Anakin wasn't just angry at the Council, but already running his own game, would he have confronted him sooner, on that burning platform, or trusted him with the truth about the prophecy? Could the Jedi have taken that instinct to control and taught him to lead without owning everything, to carry power without becoming Vader? This what if doesn't erase canon Anakin. It shines a spotlight on the tiny hinges his fate swings on, a moment of reflection instead of rage, a choice to act like a spy instead of a hammer. For Anakin, the line between tragic pawn and secret kingmaker is just a shift in mindset, but the destinies on either side are unrecognizable, and if this colder, patient Skywalker really is out there, quietly playing Sidious from the start, then the next question is simple. When does he finally stop pretending, ignite his blade for real, and show the galaxy which side he's actually on? So instead of answering that for you, this is where you answer it for Anakin. Our story begins in your hands now. In the comments, pick one scene, just one. It can be the opera balcony with Palpatine, the office duel with Mace, the lava platforms of Mustafar, or even the throne room on the second Death Star. Then rewrite it as if Anakin has been secretly playing Sidious from the very start, and this is the moment his mask slips. Does he angle his blade a little too slowly when Mace goes for the arrest? Because he wants the Chancellor wounded, not dead. Does he make that famous jump on Mustafar knowing Obi-Wan will cut him down? Because a broken Vader is the perfect cover to move unseen through the galaxy for the next 20 years. Take the canon scene. Keep the same setting, the same lightsabers, the same lines if you want, but show us the hidden plan underneath. Then push it further. Imagine Obi-Wan as the real double agent, quietly sensing that Skywalker is not as lost as he appears, feeding the Council just enough fear to keep Anakin close to Palpatine. Or picture Ahsoka out in the shadows after leaving the Order, secretly in contact with Vader, trading intel while the rest of the galaxy thinks they are mortal enemies. Maybe even Mace survives that office window, burned and bitter, running his own underground war against both Sidious and Anakin, convinced he's the only one who sees through every mask. Pattern break for a second. You don't have to write a novel. 2 or 3 tight paragraphs is enough. Focus on one turning point, one secret signal, one move where the whole board shifts and nobody in universe understands why. From there, you can keep going. Write short episodes in the comments, continuing this timeline past Endor. If Anakin has been in control for years, what does he do the moment the Emperor falls in front of Luke? Does he step into the power vacuum, or vanish and let the rebellion think they've won? How does Thrawn react when he realizes the Empire he's trying to salvage was actually a Skywalker operation the whole time? Show us how new dark side threats rise into a galaxy that was never truly Palpatine's. Maybe the Knights of Ren are hunting the real Vader, not a legend. Maybe Luke builds a Jedi Order that knows its greatest hero was also its greatest spy, and that changes everything they teach about the Force, attachment, and destiny. Hope you guys enjoy building this with us, because that is our story for today, only if you let it end here. The most creative, well-argued ideas, the timelines that really feel like they could sit next to canon, might get featured in future videos as full animated episodes or deep dive breakdowns, and the community will help decide which branches we follow next. Star Wars has always been a living myth, retold and reshaped. These what-ifs are not about replacing the saga, they are about looking at Obi-Wan, Padme, Ahsoka, Vader, and Anakin from a new angle, and asking, even after everything, what else could they have been? Star Wars has always been a living myth, retold and reshaped. These what-ifs are not about replacing the saga, they are about looking at Obi-Wan, Padme, Ahsoka, Vader, and Anakin from a new angle, and asking, even after everything, what else could they have been? And that's exactly why this idea that Anakin was secretly playing Palpatine the whole time hits so hard for so many fans. On one level, it's wish fulfillment. Anakin is called the Chosen One, the most powerful Skywalker, the one who will bring balance to the Force. In canon, he absolutely has power. power, but he spends so much of the prequels being pushed, cornered, and manipulated. Reimagining him as quietly outplaying Sidious lets us see him not just as a weapon, but as a strategist, not just strong with a lightsaber, but strong in agency. For Anakin, that fantasy of control is huge, because it answers the sting of watching him lose himself on that lava platform. This theory also smooths out his character from prequels to original trilogy. In the movies, we jump from the furious young man on Mustafar to the cold mask of Vader, then suddenly to the father who hesitates when Luke throws away his blade. If you imagine that Vader is a double agent all along, those moments of mercy stop feeling like sudden breaks. They become leaks in a dam he's been holding for years. Every time he spares someone, every time he pauses before the killing blow, you can read it as Anakin's long game peeking through the armor. It flips the usual story of corruption. Normally, it's simple. Palpatine manipulates, Anakin falls, the galaxy burns. But in this what if, the hero learns the villain's tricks and turns them back on him. The opera scene becomes a test, not a trap. Mace versus Palpatine becomes a move Anakin lets play out to get closer to the throne. The Vader suit stops being only a prison and becomes a mask he uses to survive long enough to strike. It's still tragic. It still costs him Padme, his body, his name, but the fall becomes a sacrifice he chooses, not just a slide he can't stop. And deep down, this speaks to real-world questions we wrestle with. Can you fix a broken system from the inside, or does it swallow you? Is it braver to walk away, like Ahsoka, or to stay, like an undercover agent, risking your soul? Anakin, as Palpatine's perfect monster on the outside, and secret saboteur on the inside, becomes a fantasy about navigating corrupt institutions without losing yourself. In the end, whether you prefer strict canon or these wilder branches, these readings make the saga richer. Star Wars is big enough to hold the tragic Anakin, the redeemed Vader, and the mastermind chosen one all at once in our imaginations. Our story begins in one timeline, but in our heads, it never really ends, and that is our story for today. Hope you guys enjoy thinking about that, because next we're going to push this idea even further and ask what happens to Luke, the rebellion, and the Emperor if Anakin's secret plan actually works. So before we race ahead to Luke and the rebellion, just pause for a second and replay the whole thing in your head with this twist. Our story begins not on Mustafar, but back on that sun-blasted street on Tatooine, where a barefoot kid named Anakin Skywalker stares up at a Jedi with a lightsaber on his belt and a senator in shimmering robes, already wondering who is trying to claim him. You see him in the workshop, tiny hands on a pod racer engine, feeling the force hum through metal and wire as he decides without words that he will never be someone else's tool again. Then we jump to that opera balcony on Coruscant, blue bubbles rising in the air as Palpatine whispers about Darth Plagueis the Wise. The camera lingers on Anakin's eyes. In canon, they're afraid. Here, you can almost imagine calculation, a quiet test. How far will this man go, and how close can I get without falling? The montage darkens. Clone gunships roar, the temple burns, younglings run as a blue blade ignites, and every time we've watched that hallway, we've seen a monster. In this version, the horror is still there, but now it's tangled with something colder, a desperate move by a man who thinks that if he takes this sin onto himself, he can end the war, end Sidious, and then spend the rest of his life paying for it. We hear the hiss of the Vader mask sealing. The first mechanical breath echoes as the platform tilts up, and instead of pure tragedy, there's a new layer. For Anakin, the suit isn't just a prison, it's armor for the longest con in galactic history. Every heavy step, every forced breath, is him choosing to stay close to the Emperor a little longer. Now the Death Star trench flashes by. X-Wings dive, green fire streaks past, and Vader's TIE fighter locks on. Before, he's a hunter. Now, maybe he's also a gambler, nudging the battle, letting the station fall, because a dead superweapon hurts Sidious more than a dead farm boy. Cloud City's carbon chamber glows orange as Luke's blade clashes with his. Father and son, blades crossed, and under every brutal strike, there's the question, is he breaking Luke, or forcing him to grow fast enough to survive the Emperor? On Endor's landing platform, the armor looks heavier, the forest is quiet. When he says, "It is too late for me, son," you can almost hear the years of playing the monster. In the throne room, lightning flashes, Palpatine laughs, and when Vader finally lifts him, it's not a sudden change, it's the last move in a plan that started on Tatooine. Then, we glimpse the aftermath this timeline never showed us. Anakin on trial, shackled, finally telling the full truth as the galaxy stares. Worlds rebuilding while he helps track down old Imperial warlords. A new temple, smaller, humbler, where an older Skywalker teaches Padawans to question, to feel, to never become soldiers for politicians again. He ages. The metal creaks. Even after everything, he's still there when the next generation stumbles, and the montage ends on something simple. No throne, no lava, just Anakin, out of the suit at last, wrapped in a plain cloak, sitting on a quiet hill under real stars instead of a metal ceiling. His lightsaber is off, his eyes are closed. For once, he isn't plotting or fighting or playing anyone. He's just breathing, letting the Force move without trying to steer it. Because in the end, the boy who hated being a pawn spent a lifetime trying to become the player, only to learn that no one controls everything, not even the chosen one. The question is, in our next section, what happens when Luke discovers that his father's greatest secret wasn't that he was Vader, but that he might have been pulling strings the whole time? And that brings us right back to you. If you're still here, writing this entire long game with Anakin Skywalker, do me a favor and hit that like button. It seems small, but it really is the difference between YouTube burying a 5-hour what if in the lava and actually pushing it out to the fans who want deep dives into the Force, the prophecy, and every wild path Anakin and Vader could have taken across the galaxy. Likes tell the algorithm this kind of storytelling matters. They tell it that you'd rather watch Anakin quietly move pieces on the board than scroll past another 30-second clip. So if you want more full timelines, more multi-hour sagas where a single jump, a single choice changes everything, tap like now. And while you're there, make sure you're subscribed with the bell on. Our story begins again every time we drop a new anthology. Anakin walking away from the temple, Obi-Wan taking the fall for Order 66, Vader using the mask as a weapon instead of a prison. If you want those premieres in your feed the moment they land, if you want to see how far we can push these alternate destinies for Anakin, for Obi-Wan, for the entire galaxy, hit subscribe and ring that bell. Now, I need your verdict on this Anakin. Was he right to play the long game, to become the player instead of the pawn, even after everything he did in the name of that secret plan? Or did he cross a line where no end, no matter how noble, can justify the path he walked? Tell me if you see him as a hidden savior, or as someone who just rapped the same Vader in prettier words. Drop your favorite moment too. Maybe it was the first time he outmaneuvered Palpatine instead of the other way around. Maybe it was a single quiet scene with Luke, where one sentence changed how you see the mask, the blade, and the man underneath. If there's a scene you think I missed, misread, or that you want extended in its own episode, put it in the comments. For the giveaway, here's what you do. Comment with your answer to this specific question. At what exact point in this timeline do you think Anakin truly became the player, not the piece? Was it on the Coruscant platform with Mace and Palpatine, on the Mustafar shore with his lightsaber raised, or years later in the armor when Vader finally realized how much power he still had to shape the board? Use a timestamp if you can. Thoughtful answers only. I'll be picking winners from the comments that really wrestle with his choice. That is our story for today, and I hope you guys enjoy walking these darker corridors of the Force. In a galaxy of destinies, the smallest choice can rewrite the saga. I'll see you in the next What If. The screen goes to black, the music fades. For a second, it feels like the galaxy itself is holding its breath. Then, a soft hum of a lightsaber cuts back in as the image returns. Anakin and Ahsoka back to back on a shattered platform in the middle of a Clone Wars battlefield. Blaster fire streaks past them. Smoke curls up like thin trails of lava in the distance. His blue blade points forward, her green blade angles the other way. Master and apprentice, brothers in arms, now framed against a war that's about to twist into something far darker. Our story begins again in that frozen instant, Anakin's cloak whipping in the wind. Ahsoka's eyes narrowed, sensing something wrong in the Force that no one else is willing to see, because in the next What If, she is the one who stumbles onto the truth first. Imagine this, before Anakin ever steps into Palpatine's office to hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis, before Mace's blade is raised over the Chancellor's head, Ahsoka Tano uncovers the secret. She discovers that the kind, patient old man, who seems to believe in her more than the Council ever did, is the Sith Lord, orchestrating the entire war. And suddenly, the choice that has haunted Anakin for years lands on her shoulders instead. Does she race to expose him and risk shattering her master's fragile trust in the Jedi? Or does she step into Anakin's dangerous game, joining him in the shadows to play Sidious from within, long before Vader's mask ever seals? For Anakin, the next move is everything. For Ahsoka, the next word she speaks could decide whether the galaxy gets a redeemed Skywalker or a new kind of monster. In that upcoming video, we'll follow Ahsoka as she weighs Obi-Wan's faith, Anakin's anger, and the Council's failures, all while Palpatine smiles from his high office. We'll see what happens when she walks into the temple with proof, or chooses to keep it quiet and walk beside Anakin into a war of masks and lies. Let's get right into it. Next time, if you're still here, you're part of the Deep Lore crew. Drop the phrase Fulcrum's Gambit in the comments so I know you caught this post-credits scene. No explanation, no context, just those two words. The real ones will understand. On screen, there's a small reminder now. Add the upcoming Ahsoka versus Palpatine What If to your watch later, or check the pinned comment for the link once it's live. That is our story for today, and I hope you guys enjoy being here even after everything fades to black. A final musical sting hits, sharp and echoing like a single lightsaber ignition in an empty hangar. The image cuts to pure black. The saga of Anakin Skywalker's branching destinies continues in the next What If.